Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Unstoppable God. Start from adding attribute points infinitely. Chapter 81. Standing not far from the four giant bears, Lu Yun's eyes flashed scarlet. Lu Yun's body was small, but the aura he exuded invisibly suppressed the four huge bears. He held the knife in his right hand, raised his left hand slightly, and made a finger-hooking motion. A woo. As if realizing that Lu Yun was provocative, the four giant bears roared angrily, and at the same time, they moved their arms and pulled up the thick trees beside them, waving them as weapons to attack Lu Yun. The powerful force made the air roar, and the strong wind blowing in the face could be felt from a distance. Lu Yun showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth, and instead of retreating, he slashed down with the tiger-headed sword that condensed the killing state and pure yang energy. Killing all around. Boom. It was like a thunderclap from the ground. The red and white knife light was nearly 5 feet long, and the thick tree just touched it and shattered. The tiger-headed broadsword slammed down on the head that was 2 feet high, and the sword energy burst out. The long sword slashed down and directly broke the extremely hard head. Boom! A strong storm came from behind, and Lu Yun dodged immediately. However, the giant bear whose head was split by his sword just now was hit in the abdomen by the extremely thick tree trunk because it could not dodge at all. The powerful force directly blew it away for more than 10 feet, breaking a large number of trees before stopping. After falling to the ground, there was no breath. Seeing this scene, Lu Yun's scarlet pupils couldn't help shrinking. I knew that the strength of these giant bears must be terrifying, but I didn't expect it to be so terrifying. Fortunately, they can't touch me, otherwise I would be slapped by any of them, and I wouldn't be able to use my strength even if I had the strongest strength. After Lu Yun dodged the other 2 attacks again, he quickly pulled away. 3 giant bears chased after him. Lu Yun was very fast and was not afraid of being caught up. Boom boom boom. One after another, the thick and sturdy trees collapsed, and the sky was full of flying snow. In the heavy snow, Lu Yun suddenly turned around and suddenly burst out with a knife. The knife light was like a startling, not only fast, but also powerful. The giant bear, which was completely replaced by anger, did not expect Lu Yun to appear suddenly, and quickly slashed with a knife, and hit the knife light with one head. Puff! The giant bear's head was very hard and its defense was very strong, but this was a knife slashed by Lu Yun seriously, and it could not defend at all. After dealing with another giant bear, Lu Yun drew his knife and retreated, ready to choose another time. The remaining 2 giant bears became more angry. After finding that they could not catch up with Lu Yun, they madly bombarded the surrounding thick trees with powerful force. Soon, a chaotic field was cleared around. At this time, Lu Yun's knife suddenly killed, which was the trick of 7 killing swordsmanship, to kill all around. This ultimate knife not only has the blessing of pure yang gangqi, but also carries the killing intention. At the moment of approaching, the giant bear was shocked and his body stiffened slightly. It was the giant bear's paws that made the terrifying knife pierce its heart accurately and pierce through from the back. The huge wound on the giant bear's body was not only filled with murderous aura, but also with a strong burning. Lu Yun stood with a knife, looking at the last giant bear. Even if the remaining giant bear is in the 3rd stage, Lu Yun is not going to dodge anymore. A mere 3rd stage bear monster is not worth his dodge. Just now, it was to prevent accidents and to continue to improve the fierce wind lightning step. Now there is only 1 giant bear left, which can no longer put pressure on him, and he can no longer improve his skills. Lu Yun is simply ready to end the battle. Holding the tiger-headed sword tightly with both hands, the pure yang gangqi that has been refined once surges in the dantian, travels along the meridians, and finally gathers on the blade. The long sword flashed with light, and the sword energy grew. The snowflakes falling from the sky were evaporated into gas from a long distance. Thunder flashed under his feet, and Lu Yun, holding a tiger-headed sword, turned into a flash of lightning and rushed out. The giant bear stood there coldly overlooking Lu Yun's killing. When Lu Yun was about 10 feet away from it, it suddenly opened its mouth and roared. A woo! It was like thunder exploding, and the terrifying sound waves spread outward in a fan shape. The powerful power contained shook the thick snow around and made it fly all over the sky. The stumps and trees on the ground were also shaking constantly. With such a strong sound wave, Lu Yun had to stop his body, mobilize the energy to seal his ears, and at the same time sacrifice the energy shield around his body. Lu Yun ignored and underestimated the giant bear. He didn't expect that the other party was so smart. He accidentally fell into its trap, and his whole body was numb, and blood was flowing from his nose. It's really wrong to be so careless. Boom. Taking advantage of Lu Yun's carelessness, the giant bear successfully attacked with its sound waves. It took a big step forward, and its mountain-like figure approached Lu Yun fiercely. Its thick and sturdy bare feet suddenly stepped down, clearly wanting to crush Lu Yun into a pulp. Lu Yun's attack was only blocked, but his body was not restrained. He used his body skills to dodge the huge bear's foot, and at the same time, a knife light flew out and reached the opponent's eyes. At this moment, Lu Yun felt another attack from the left and right, which was the huge bear's paw closing. Lu Yun suddenly stepped on one foot, and the whole person jumped up in an instant, and chopped the giant bear's head with a knife. Clang! A crisp sound burst out, breathing bursts of sparks. This knife only left a shallow blood mark on the opponent's head. This was also what Lu Yun had expected. His main purpose just now was to escape from the combined attack of the pair of bear paws. Most of his strength was used in a sudden jump. The effect achieved by a casual attack was beyond his expectations. Also, with the help of the counterattack force of this knife, Lu Yun once again distanced himself from him. Facing this giant bear that relied on brute strength and flexibility, Lu Yun was at a disadvantage in close combat, and it was not conducive for him to use his powerful sword skills. Now, after Lu Yun retreated from a safe distance, his body's pure yang qi surged again. At the same time, deep in Lu Yun's mind, a blood-red lotus suddenly bloomed. Lu Yun had no idea about this. All his body and mind were focused on this knife. As the light on the tiger-headed sword continued to grow, a crimson murderous aura filled the air within 10 feet around him. It is your honor to die under this knife. Lu Yun suddenly grasped the handle of the knife, and the murderous aura that filled the air gathered at this moment, completely converging on the tiger head broadsword. The bloody sword light stretched and stretched instantly, filling the sky with blood red. The crazy giant bear casually broke a thick tree and waved it wildly as a weapon, forming a huge storm and attacking Lu Yun. But as soon as it came within 10 feet of Lu Yun, it was wrapped in a blood-red envelope. The violent and sharp sword energy raged, and the huge tree was instantly torn into pieces. The terrifying body of the giant bear instantly broke through the defense, and a blast the blood-red traces of Tao appeared on it. 7 killing sword techniques, breaking the cauldron and sinking the boat. When the sword came out, the blood-red sword light suddenly fell, as if the blood-red world was coming, pulling the huge body of the giant bear into it. The blood-red sword light only lasted for a few breaths, but it left a terrifying ravine on the blank snow, filled with thick murderous aura. As for the giant bear in the middle of the 3rd level, it completely disappeared in the 10th level of the Vientiane Tower. The 10th floor is nothing more than that. Lu Yun put away his sword and stood up, looking at the whirlpool portal that appeared in front of him expressionlessly. The 11th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. This space is no longer snow-white, nor are there towering trees. Instead, it is an endless green grassland and a clear blue sky, which looks particularly comfortable. Lu Yun's cold expression left by using the killing state of mind melted instantly. A group of tall and majestic horses are walking leisurely on the green grass. These horses are burning with a ball of silver fire, with slender limbs, strong bodies, and crystal eyes. This is the fierce wind silver scale horse, a monster with extremely terrifying speed. The white silver scales on its back shine brightly, and a strong and abnormal aura can be felt from a long distance. The most important thing is that there are a lot of fierce wind silver scale horses. Lu Yun estimates that there are at least 100 of them, and the aura of each one is extremely strong. In short, it is much stronger than the warriors in the early stage of the True Qi realm. When seeing Lu Yun, these fierce wind silver scale horses became agitated one by one, and the silver light flashed on their bodies, which was obviously full of hostility to Lu Yun, the uninvited guest. Although they are just monsters evolved from the Wanxiang Tower, their intelligence is not inferior to that of real monsters. Lu Yun looked at these fierce wind silver scaled horses and had no intention of taking action for the time being. Strange, why are there so many monsters on each floor of the Wanxiang Tower? Not only are there many monsters, but they are also very powerful. Disciples of the same level in the martial arts academy simply cannot pass through. Take the 10th floor for example. Even if most of the disciples in the martial arts academy who are in the middle stage of the true Qi realm can kill those giant bears at the peak of the 2nd level, they will definitely not be the opponents of the 4 giant bears at the 3rd level, not to mention that one of them has reached the middle stage of the 3rd level. If Lu Yun did not have strong Qi and actual combat power, it would not be easy for him to pass the 10th floor. Just as he was thinking about these events, a group of fierce wind silver-scaled horses in the distance completely rioted, digging the ground with 4 feet, flashing silver light all over their bodies, and attacking Lu Yun at the same time. Their speed is very fast, and they almost turn into silver light when they charge, a large area of white, as if it is a silver-white ocean, which is both shocking and surprising. What a terrifying speed! Even Lu Yun couldn't help but be shocked by the speed displayed by these fierce wind silver-scale horses. In addition to shock, there was also joy. Perhaps, the improvement of the fierce wind flashing thunder step has been settled. Lu Yun stretched out his body, like a flash of thunder, extremely fast, and moved dozens of feet in an instant, far exceeding the speed that ordinary true Qi realm warriors can achieve. In the place where Lu Yun just left, silver light poured down like a rainstorm, and the terrifying attack broke out, leaving a terrifying gully on the ground. Huff, huff. Seeing that the attack fell into the air, all the fierce wind silver-scale horses immediately became angry, and spewed out hot flames from their mouths and attacked forward. Tisk tisk, this can actually attack from a distance, is it too much? Lu Yun exclaimed, the thunder light flashed under his feet, and the wind whistled, like a lightning flashing quickly, with a graceful posture and some sharp and smooth. His figure landed on a huge rock in the distance, but just as he stood on his feet, he was occupied by silver flames in front of him. Without delay, he dodged quickly, and the original huge rock broke with a puff sound, and the broken stones flew everywhere. At the same time, a silver light chased after Lu Yun, and it was those fierce wind silver-scale horses. The speed they showed was not slower than Lu Yun's fierce wind flashing step, and some of them even surpassed Lu Yun's speed. At this moment, Lu Yun's eyes suddenly showed a ray of brilliance. He felt that his speed had increased at a critical moment. Although the increase was small, he still sensed it instantly. He divided a part of his mind on the panel and saw that the progress of practicing the fierce wind flashing step had increased to 55% of the great success. Seeing this, Lu Yun couldn't help but feel overjoyed. This time, the progress of practice increased by 5%, which is at least 15 if converted into energy value. Sure enough, I guessed right, this is simply a treasure land for cultivation. A wave of silver sea came, and it seemed that it was about to completely cover Lu Yun. Perhaps, I can improve even faster. Lu Yun's eyes lit up, and his body moved, like a silver dragon crossing the sky, leaving a beautiful trace in the air, dangerously passing through the silver sea, and directly rushing into those fierce wind silver-scale horses. Provoked by Lu Yun, the fierce wind silver-scale horses became more violent, and silver flames kept coming out of their mouths and noses. Dong dong. They were shining with silver light, their 4 feet were stamped, and they raised their heads and roared. In an instant, the whole grassland shook, the neighing sound was deafening, and the huge fierce wind silver-scale horses charged, and the hooves shining with silver light stepped forward. Lu Yun's body shook, and there were several deep marks on the place where he was standing. Among the huge fierce wind silver-scale horses, Lu Yun did not dare to be careless at all, and kept dodging. The only thing he could do now was to use the fierce wind lightning step with all his strength, turning into a thunderous light and running away. The fierce wind silver-scale horse was too swift and had a fast reaction speed. If it were an ordinary warrior in the early stage of the true Qi realm, he would have been trampled into a hole by its silver hooves. Only Lu Yun could practice a top-level body movement to the great perfection at the early stage of the true Qi realm, and hone his body movement in the terrifying speed of the fierce wind silver-scale horse. After half an hour of actual combat training, the progress of practicing the fierce wind lightning step increased by 5% again. At the same time, the hoofs of gale force silver-scaled horses that were astonishingly fast, far exceeding the speed of warriors of the same level, stepped from the front, and at the same time, a bloody maw of silver flames came from behind. On the left and right, another silver ray of light attacked from both sides. This is absolutely impossible to avoid. Like the sun rising in the sky, Lu Yun's whole body shimmered with white light, and the pure yang-qi of the sun enveloped his body, blocking attacks from all directions. Roll. As soon as Lu Yun drank, the pure yang-qi exploded, and the powerful force knocked away the gale force silver-scaled horses that were rushing around him. However, there were more gale silver-scale horses attacking from behind. With a whoosh sound, Lu Yun moved again, like a slippery thunder snake, leaping over a tall gale force silver-scaled horse. Once again, he entered into actual combat to hone his body skills. The vast and huge pure yang-qi is enough to support Lu Yun's gale lightning step, which he has mastered in actual combat for a long time. Half an hour later, gale lightning step increased to 64%. 2 hours later, gale lightning step increased to 67%. As the gale lightning steps improved, it became easier for Lu Yun to deal with these gale silver scale horses, and at the same time, the effect of training on him gradually weakened. Finally, when the gale lightning step increased to 70%, Lu Yun walked out of the Vientiane Tower. It was the Vientiane Tower that he created himself. At this time, Lu Yun only had less than 30% of his yang-qi left. No one should know that I passed the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower. In Vientiane Square, Lu Yun glanced at the Vientiane Jade Wall, but there was no information about him on it. After glancing around, Lu Yun saw that no one else showed any shock when they saw him. They just smiled and said hello. Lu Yun concluded that no one knew that he passed the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower. This result was very much in line with Lu Yun's expectations. After casually exchanging polite words with others, Lu Yun quickly left Vientiane Square. Almost as soon as Lu Yun left the Vientiane Tower, in a small courtyard with a beautiful and quiet environment, Yi Xingqian, who was lying on a chair under a big tree, suddenly opened his eyes, and a ray of essence burst out of his turbid and deep eyes. Inner Affairs Hall, Alchemy Building. The disciple who received Lu Yun was still the same one from last time. This person's surname was Yao, and his name was Lin. He was quite smart and enthusiastic. When he saw Lu Yun, he immediately greeted him with a smile. "Brother Lu, I haven't seen you for a few months. I can't see your aura anymore. You are not bad either. You are already in the middle stage of Tongmei realm, and your bones are solid. You can break through the realm after practicing hard for another month or two." Lu Yun took a look at Yao Lin and saw his background clearly. Originally, even if he was one realm higher than Yao Lin, he could only see his realm at most, but he could only have a vague idea of how long he had been immersed in this realm. However, after comprehending the killing realm, he could see more. Lu Yun didn't know why. Senior brother Lu has good taste. After Yao Lin flattered Lu Yun very blatantly, he said with a smile, "Senior brother Lu, are you exchanging for Tongmei Dan this time?" "Tongmei Dan has no effect on me. This time I want to exchange for Xuanyuan Dan." Xuanyuan Dan. Yao Lin was stunned at first, but soon reacted. His face was full of shock. He said in disbelief, Have you broken through the Qi realm?" Lu Yun looked at him with contempt and said unhappily, "It's just the Qi realm, it's not necessary to be so angry." Immediately, he quickly glanced around and saw the people coming and going. He pulled Yao Lin to a corner without leaving a trace. "Try to be calm. I don't want too many people to know about my breakthrough." Yao Lin nodded in a hurry and promised solemnly, "Senior brother Lu, don't worry, I will keep it a secret and promise not to mention it to anyone else." Quote. While speaking, Yao Lin's face flushed, obviously due to excessive excitement. Lu Yun felt a little amused, and at the same time a little relieved that the news that he passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower had not yet been spread. Just breaking through the true Qi realm made Yao Lin behave like this, and other disciples were not much better. "Oh, by the way, how many contribution points does a bottle of Xuanyuan Dan have?" There are now 5,800 contribution points on Lu Yun's identity token. He gets 800 contribution points by completing the Xuanji demon slaying mission, and gets 2,000 and 3,000 contribution points by passing the 9th and 10th floors of the Wanxiang Tower respectively. Even if he has nearly 6,000 contribution points in his hand, he still has to use them carefully. 500 contribution points. After the previous reminder, Yao Lin spoke much softer. If Lu Yun hadn't had good hearing, he might not have been able to hear clearly in such a noisy environment. "Exchange 6 bottles for me." Lu Yun pondered for a while, and changed his words again, I want to exchange 7 bottles. Quote. While speaking, he handed the identity token to Yao Lin. Okay, wait a moment. Yao Lin took the token and trotted away. Not long after, he appeared in front of Lu Yun again, panting, holding the identity token in one hand and 7 exquisite jade bottles in the other. Brother Lu, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Yao Lin took a deep breath and carefully handed the identity token and Xuanyuan Dan to Lu Yun. 7 bottles of Xuanyuan Dan, a total of 3,500 contribution points, and 2,300 contribution points left. Brother Lu, please check and see if there are any problems. Lu Yun just nodded slightly. Without checking, he put away the identity token and Xuanyuan Dan directly, and said goodbye and left. Just after walking out of the pill building, he met a person who surprised him. Brother Lu. Quote. When Mu Qingyan saw Lu Yun, he not only did not avoid him, but also came up to greet him. A gleam of brilliance flashed in Lu Yun's eyes, and he smiled and said, it turns out to be Brother Mu. I haven't had time to thank you for your gift of the elixir last time. Haha, Brother Lu, you are joking. Faced with Lu Yun's joke, Mu Qingyan didn't care at all, and chatted with Lu Yun casually for a few more words before saying goodbye and leaving. After Mu Qingyan passed a corner, the smile on his face suddenly withdrew, replaced by a face full of hatred. It's you, it must be you. Quote. He clenched his fist tightly, trying not to look back, for fear of seeing the face that made him jealous again, and he couldn't help but attack. In front of the huge gap, there is only one result of attacking, which is to kill oneself. Mu Qingyan has always been jealous and hateful of Lu Yun, a country boy. After entering the martial arts academy, he found that the gap between him and Lu Yun became larger and larger. Not only did the hatred and jealousy not decrease, but it became deeper. However, Mu Qingyan was very scheming. He did not show it on his face, but buried it deep in his heart, and thought about how to retaliate against Lu Yun. The first thing he thought of was to stop Lu Yun from making further progress. The best way was to destroy Lingxi village, so that Lu Yun would be depressed for a while. Some geniuses often he may never stand up again because of a depression. Even if Lu Yun did not sink, at least he would be delayed for several months because of this incident, giving him a chance to catch up. And this is only the first step, there will be a second step and even a third step. But he didn't expect that the news he got was not that Lingxi village was blood-bathed, but that Tianfang village was destroyed, and his father and the top leaders of Qingfang Villa were killed by unknown strongmen overnight. Under extreme jealousy, Mu Qingyan didn't think too much and directly linked this matter with Lu Yun. Even though he didn't think Lu Yun had that kind of strength and means. In order to verify, he went to Lu Yun's courtyard. Coincidentally, Lu Yun was not there during that time, which further confirmed his guess. Lu Yun, regardless of whether it has anything to do with you or not, I will definitely destroy you, I will definitely. The other side, Lu Yun returned to his small courtyard. It was getting late. He had no idea of practicing martial arts. Instead, he sat and thought about Mu Qingyan. It's been such a long time. The incident at Qinfang Villa must have reached his ears. Now he behaves so normally in front of me. No one would believe it. It has been more than 2 months since he killed Mu Qingfang and others. Mu Qingyan should know something about the situation even if the news is blocked. After learning about the Qingfang Villa, Mu Qingyan's normal behavior should be to be sad or depressed for a period of time, instead of smiling at his fellow countrymen. Either it's heartless, or it's secretive and deliberately concealing it. Thinking of this, Lu Yun thought about Tianfang village again, and there were many clues in it. Qingfang Villa and Lingxi village have never had any grudges. The only people who have social relations are Mu Qingyan and himself. First it was an inconsequential little conflict, then it was jealousy that gave rise to hatred, and finally it was buying a murderer to kill someone. But this is just my conjecture. Lu Yun was thinking about many things in his mind. If it was really what he thought, then Mu Qingyan would be a bit extraordinary. Due to the rules of the academy, it was impossible for him to blatantly do anything to Mu Qingyan. Unless it is outside the martial arts academy and when no one is present. No matter what, Mu Qingyan must die. If you let such a fly continue to exist, you will get into trouble one day. Thinking of this, a fierce look suddenly flashed in Lu Yun's eyes. The next day, Lu Yun got up very early, and practiced the fierce wind and lightning step before dawn. After another round of practice, there was no doubt that there was not much progress. It would be strange if there was any improvement in practicing the fierce wind and lightning step in such a small courtyard. Lu Yun didn't care, he just couldn't sit still and stretched his muscles and bones casually. Back in the room, wiped the sweat off his face, Lu Yun took out the Xuanyuan pill and began to refine it. Soon, all 7 bottles of Xuanyuan pill were refined. With excitement, Lu Yun opened the panel. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Arts Academy. Martial Arts: Wind-breaking sword technique perfect, cannot be upgraded. 7 killing sword technique Tongshuan, cannot be upgraded. Black tiger sword technique perfect, cannot be upgraded. Fierce wind lightning step, 70% of great success. Golden sun refining method, 1% of beginner, can be integrated. Root bones, 6 stars. Martial arts, initial stage of true chi realm, one-time refining. Energy value, 2481, automatically increases by 1 every 2 days. State of mind, killing state of mind, first level 5%. Hiss, 2481 energy values. Lu Yun took a deep breath, his eyes full of excitement and joy. 7 bottles of Xuanyuan pills, a total of 70, increased 2450 energy values. In other words, 1 Xuanyuan pill can be converted into 35 energy values, which is the same conversion efficiency as before he broke through the true chi realm. Because of the previous breakthrough, the efficiency of the energy value conversion of the tempering pill became lower. Lu Yun originally thought that after he was promoted to the true chi realm this time, the Zanyuan Dan would also be the same. But the result was different from what he thought, and each Zanyuan Dan still converted 35 energy values. When I was in the Tongmei realm, I used the tempering pill, and the efficiency of converting energy values became lower. It should be that the tempering pill is useless for Tongmei realm warriors. And when I was promoted to the true chi realm, the energy value conversion efficiency of the Zanyuan Dan did not change, because the Zanyuan Dan was originally a pill used by true chi realm warriors. According to this speculation, even if I refine the Yuani realm or even higher level pills now, and refine them again when I reach the corresponding realm in the future, the result is the same. Thinking of this, Lu Yun smiled bitterly in his heart. If it was really what he speculated, then this panel was too calculated. It's all because of this panel. There is no instruction manual. Everything depends on my own exploration and summary. The most important thing is to prevent me from getting stuck. After complaining, Lu Yun opened the fusion panel of Jinyang Shilian again. It was found that Jinyang Shilian and Chunyang Gangqi can be fused, and the fusion consumes 1,300 energy values. A full 1,300 energy values. I hope that after the fusion, there will be a domineering name. Jinyang Shilian is too ordinary. Muttering to himself, Lu Yun did not hesitate, and even did not blink his eyes, silently reciting the fusion in his heart. At the same time, the Hunyuan Gong and Jinyang refining method on the panel disappeared instantly. The fusion of the two produced much greater movement and influence than when the Hunyuan Gong and Jinyang refining method were fused. At the moment of fusion, Lu Yun's breath changed drastically. Not only was the pure Yang Gangqi in Dantian refined again, but even his body was changing. He could feel that every piece of flesh and bones was changing. This change was a leap in physical strength and power. Following, a huge memory appeared in the depths of his mind. Under the impact of this huge torrent of memories, Lu Yun fell into an inexplicable state. It seemed like a moment had passed, and it seemed like a year had passed. When Lu Yun recovered again, a message appeared on the panel. Consume 1,300 energy points. Pure Yang Gong and Jin Yang Shi Lian merged to produce a new martial arts, Pure Yang Wu Dian. This message lasted for more than 10 breaths before disappearing. Then, in the martial arts column on the panel, the original position of Jin Yang Shi Lian was replaced by Pure Yang Wu Dian. Pure Yang Wu Dian, True Chi Chapter, 1% for beginners. This new martial arts does not sound overbearing, but simple and straightforward. Moreover, according to the memory that appeared in my mind before, Pure Yang Wu Dian is the classic of Pure Yang martial arts. Now it is divided into the chapter of entering martial arts, the chapter of opening meridians, and the chapter of true chi. In the future, with the integration of more martial arts and skills, the pure Yang Wudian will gradually improve. In other words, Lu Yun's future cultivation system will be finalized from now on, based on the pure Yang Wudian. If you want to switch, you can only start from the beginning. Feeling the terrifying potential of the pure Yang Wudian, Lu Yun will naturally not switch to other systems. Especially after the fusion into the pure Yang Wudian, his overall strength has been significantly enhanced. The current Qi chapter is also very abnormal, which can help him complete the 12 refinements. Not only that, his physical defense has also increased to a certain extent. He stretched out his hand and the tiger-headed broadsword on the bedside flew into his hand. Looking at the sharp blade, Lu Yun grabbed the handle and gently slashed it with his other hand. Zizi. A cold touch came, leaving a faint mark on the arm without any pain. Use half of the strength to slash across the arm again. A slight pain came, and at the same time, a shallow red line appeared on the arm, a little blood overflowed, and then quickly solidified and scabbed. Seeing this, Lu Yun showed a satisfied look in his eyes. Although the tiger-headed broadsword is not a real weapon, it ranks among the top ordinary weapons and is extremely sharp. Even the third-level monsters have killed several of them. Without using the Qi to protect the body, the tiger-headed broadsword with half of the strength only left a shallow scar on the arm, which shows the horror of his current physical body. In just half a cup of tea, the scar on his arm healed quickly, and his recovery ability was simply abnormal. This may just be the beginning of the pure Yang martial classic. Lu Yun's face was full of smiles. This is just the effect of just getting started, and he has such defense and recovery energy. He is looking forward to how powerful his body will be after the pure Yang martial classic Junqi chapter is completed and perfected. His eyes fell on the martial arts column on the panel again. Martial arts. Broken Wind Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. 7 Killing Sword Technique Tongshuan, cannot be upgraded. Black Tiger Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Fierce Wind Lightning Step, 70% of the complete pure Yang martial classic True Qi chapter, entry 1%. Compared with the previous one, it is undoubtedly much simpler. It would be better if the Broken Wind Sword Technique, Black Tiger Sword Technique, and 7 Killing Sword Technique could be integrated. Such a thought came to Lu Yun's mind. With the improvement of his strength, the Broken Wind Sword Technique and Black Tiger Sword Technique were not enough for him, and even the 7 Killing Sword Technique that helped him comprehend the killing state of mind seemed a little insufficient. If it could be integrated into a new sword technique, it would be even more powerful for him. Unfortunately, it was impossible for everything to go as he wished. He went out to look at the sky, and the sun just rose to the sky. Lu Yun washed his face casually, then left the yard and walked towards the cafeteria for elite disciples. He had not eaten for a while, and his stomach needed to be filled, and by the way, he also satisfied his appetite. When he arrived at the cafeteria, he saw several familiar new faces, who were the new disciples who entered the martial arts academy at the same time as Lu Yun. These people's roots were below 5 stars, and they were all ordinary disciples at the beginning. Now they can come to the cafeteria in the elite disciple area, proving that they have passed the assessment of the martial arts academy and become one of the elite disciples. Lu Yun glanced casually, and they were all at the Tongmei realm, and their aura was also very condensed. Senior Brother Lu. Senior Brother Lu. After seeing Lu Yun, everyone took the initiative to greet him and reserved a separate seat for him. Those martial arts academy disciples who were doing tasks in the cafeteria took the initiative to serve food to Lu Yun. A big bowl of rice, 3 meat dishes, 1 vegetable dish, and a soup to strengthen the body and nourish the essence. Thank you. After saying thank you, Lu Yun sat down and started eating. This is the way the world works. When you show enough potential and strength, there are people who will run around for you. Just because Lu Yun doesn't like it doesn't mean he doesn't want to enjoy it. Leaving the cafeteria, Lu Yun went straight to the library. Seeing Lu Yun entering the library, the elder on duty in the library flashed a subtle brilliance in his old eyes. This little guy has been in the martial arts academy for less than a year, and he has already reached the True Qi realm. This cultivation speed is stronger than the 6-star root bone. No wonder he has attracted the attention of the dean. In addition to martial arts, there are many other miscellaneous books on the first floor of the library. There are many miscellaneous books, including astronomy and geography of the 9 states of the Yuan dynasty, and common sense about the realm of martial arts. In addition, there are elixirs, spiritual materials, weapons, etc. Lu Yun's main purpose this time is to borrow books about artistic conception. It is really difficult to find the books you like from the vast sea of miscellaneous books. Fortunately, Lu Yun is not in a hurry. He slowly searches and pauses when he encounters something he is interested in, so that he can borrow it when his contribution value is sufficient in the future. Suddenly, he turned to a book, The Story of the Great Yuan Dynasty, and the opening outline aroused Lu Yun's curiosity. A long time ago, the Yuan dynasty was a martial arts world full of monsters, sects, families, states, and bandits. However, 800 years ago, a mysterious strong man appeared out of nowhere. He did not belong to any sect or family. He seemed to have suddenly descended on this world, showing his terrifying means, unifying the states, subduing the major families, suppressing the major sects, and establishing the Yuan dynasty. Since then, the Yuan dynasty was born, and this mysterious strong man naturally became a generation of Yuan emperor. After the establishment of the Yuan dynasty, the Yuan emperor mobilized the power of all the sects and families in the dynasty to fight against the monsters, and finally won and drove them out of the human area. Afterwards, he divided the area where monsters and humans originally lived into 9 states, established counties, and founded martial arts academies in each county, absorbing all the geniuses in the Yuan dynasty, so as to strengthen the Yuan dynasty and weaken the power of the families and sects. Those sects were naturally unwilling to compromise. For the sects, compromise means destruction. In the 30th year of the Yuan dynasty, the war between the sect and the Yuan dynasty broke out completely. In the end, the sect was either destroyed or fled from the territory of Zhou. From that time on, martial arts were no longer monopolized by the sect and the nobles. Commoners with good talents could join the martial arts academy, and those with poor talents could join the army, and they could all learn martial arts and martial arts. Seeing this, the beginning ended, and Lu Yun subconsciously turned down and turned to the next page. Lu Yun's eyes suddenly flashed. Hey, I can continue to read. Immediately, he continued to read down without any resistance. In the end, he finished reading the book, The Story of the Yuan Dynasty, completely, picked up another one, and finished it without any obstacles. Then he read the next one, and the result was the same. Lu Yun quickly came to a conclusion. All the miscellaneous books in the library are free, and the disciples of the Martial Arts Academy can read them at will without spending any contribution points. After knowing this, Lu Yun was naturally very excited. Due to his background and experience, he lacks knowledge of martial arts and other aspects. He needs to read more, learn more, and enrich his knowledge and broaden his horizons. These books in the library are like a sea, covering not only astronomy and geography, but also martial arts, elixirs, spiritual materials and other knowledge, all of which Lu Yun lacks. If contribution points are required to read, the contribution points required will far exceed the limit that Lu Yun can bear. Now he can read directly, which not only saves Lu Yun a lot of contribution points, but also allows him to read and absorb knowledge to his heart's content and expand his knowledge. Lu Yun no longer slowly looks for books about artistic conception. He is ready to read all the books. The first books he read are about the historical events and geography of the Yuan dynasty. The first generation of Yuan emperor swept across the clans and families, expelled monsters, divided the 9 states, spread martial arts throughout the world, established supreme merits, and finally abdicated in the 500th year of the Yuan calendar. Since then, there has been no news. After the second generation, the contemporary Yuan emperor ascended the throne, the clan forces that escaped from the 9 states began to sweep in. Although the current Yuan emperor does not have the supreme power of the first Yuan emperor, the Yuan dynasty, which has accumulated talents from the 9 states and the destiny of humanity, is not something that those sects can contend with. They can only choose to gradually erode. So this is how the so-called cults came about. Lu Yun finally knew why the White Lotus sect and other sects were called cults. It was strange that they were not regarded as cults when they opposed the court. It took 2 days to finish reading the history and geography of the Yuan dynasty. When the Yuan dynasty was first established, there were only 9 states. After constantly expelling monsters and developing new areas, 3 more states were established. Now there are 12 states, namely Zhongzhou, Wuzhou, Qingzhou, Yunzhou, Yangzhou, Jingzhou, Yuzhou, Liangzhou, Yangzhou, Yuzhou, Yenzhou and Lingzhou. Among them, Yuzhou, Yenzhou and Lingzhou are newly developed areas. In addition to the 12 states, there are also extremely vast areas. For the areas outside the 12 states, there are no relevant books in the library. Lu Yun didn't care about it. The size of one state was enough to shock him, not to mention the areas outside the 12 states. According to the books, Lingzhou was a region opened up 300 years ago. It has developed to the present day and has 36 counties. Lingwu County, one of the 36 counties, has a population of tens of millions. From this, we can see that Lingzhou is as big as the Yuan dynasty. After reading books in the library for 2 days and 2 nights without stopping, Lu Yun was not tired, but became more energetic and picked up a book from the bookshelf again. This book is about the theory of elixirs, and Lu Yun read it with more enthusiasm. Lu Yun's memory is very good now. He almost read it without thinking, but he can still remember the knowledge he has read. Unless it is a very obscure knowledge point, it takes a little more time. After reading the book for several days, Lu Yun finally knew the uses and effects of various elixirs. In fact, elixirs are divided into grades like the realm of martial arts. Elixirs are divided into 9 grades, and there are many kinds of elixirs of the same grade, which can help warriors speed up their practice and break bottlenecks. In addition, there are also functions such as restoring injuries, improving mental strength, restoring true qi and true essence. In short, elixirs are indispensable auxiliary tools for warriors, and their role is no less than that of martial arts and exercises. The first grade elixir has the lowest grade and has the greatest effect on warriors who have entered the martial arts realm, such as the body tempering elixir. Tongmei elixir and Xuanyuan elixir are second grade and third grade elixirs respectively. The 9th grade elixir is the highest level, but this level of elixir is in short supply. At least, Lingwu County has never seen a 9th grade elixir. Only alchemists can refine elixir. It is very difficult to become an alchemist. Not only does it require excellent talent, but it also requires a certain amount of perseverance and inheritance, which leads to a scarcity of alchemists in the Yuan dynasty. Scarcity makes things valuable, and so do people. As an indispensable auxiliary tool for warriors on the road of martial arts, elixir has a high status for alchemists. Lu Yun did not comment on the status of alchemists. In his opinion, only absolute strength can truly consolidate the status. If I learn to refine elixir myself, then it will be much easier to accumulate energy value in the future. This idea was like a spark, and it instantly formed a prairie fire in Lu Yun's heart. However, Lu Yun could not become an alchemist just through these books in the library. The most basic thing to become an alchemist is talent. The so-called talent is high mental power and strong comprehension ability. In terms of talent, Lu Yun is not worried at all. But just having talent does not mean that you can become an alchemist. To become the lowest level first-grade alchemist, in addition to having talent, you must also be very familiar with various alchemy materials, including their properties, uses, etc. In addition, you need to know the specific steps of alchemy, have the corresponding elixir prescriptions and alchemy furnaces. So far, Lu Yun only has talent. Considering these, Lu Yun temporarily suppressed the idea of becoming an alchemist. A month later, Lu Yun finally walked out of the library. At this time, Lu Yun's face once again looked more mature, especially his eyes became clearer and wiser. Reading makes people wise and profound. In half a month, Lu Yun read at least tens of thousands of various books, which increased his knowledge and insights in many aspects. In addition, Lu Yun also found that his murderous artistic conception had actually increased. The growth was not much, just 3 progresses, but this also made Lu Yun exclaim that it was incredible. Although he didn't know the reason, this change undoubtedly made Lu Yun more eager to immerse himself in the ocean of knowledge. It was only now that he came out of the library. It wasn't that he had read all the miscellaneous books on the first floor, but that he was so hungry that he couldn't stand it after not eating or drinking for a month. When we arrived at the elite disciple canteen, the table was filled with a lot of food, most of which were high-energy meat. The surrounding disciples gathered together in 2s and 3s, discussing some strange things about the martial arts academy. No matter where it is, there are always people who eat melons. As soon as there is gossip, people will quickly gather around and join in the fun. Surrounded in the middle was a young man wearing a purple brocade robe. He had a good temperament and an extraordinary conversation. Lu Yun had a vague impression that this man was a disciple from a middle-class family in Lingwu County, named Yi Xuan. Yi Xuan lifted the corner of his clothes, sat on the stool, glanced at everyone, and smiled on his face. Have you heard that just a few days ago, someone passed the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower, and he was a new disciple? As soon as this statement came out, it immediately caused a stir among everyone. Many disciples who were eating couldn't help but stop their chopsticks and prick up their ears. All go, don't be so aggressive. It's been less than a year since these newcomers entered the martial arts academy. If they pass the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower so quickly, doesn't that mean they can get rid of their status as elite disciples and officially become disciples of the Hall of Stars? The 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower is a nightmare for most disciples. It blocks many veteran elite disciples. Those disciples who have only entered the martial arts academy for a few years have never even entered the 9th floor of the Vientiane Tower, let alone the 3rd floor. It's 10th floor. Some disciples were intrigued and couldn't wait to ask, hurry up and tell me who the newcomer is, Bai Haoxuan, Xiao Chen, or Lu Yun. After finishing speaking, he glanced at another corner very vaguely. Sitting in that position was Lu Yun. Others also looked sideways. Lu Yun rarely comes to the cafeteria, but that doesn't mean that others don't know him. Yi Xuan coughed, and then said in a low voice, Xiao Chen and Lu Yun have always been like dragons that never see their end. I rarely see them. I know very little information about them, but one thing is certain. Even if they have not passed the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower, but it won't be long. Most of the people present were very shrewd. They knew what this meant when they heard it, and they all sighed. However, there are always stupid people who don't know the stakes. One of the young men in blue robes said loudly, is there any need to guess? It must be Bai Haoxuan, the 6-star root bone, the only one among the new disciples who else could pass through the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower in such a short time except Bai Haoxuan. As for Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, although they are good, the difference between them is huge. Quote. After saying that, he looked at everyone triumphantly, as if to say, I am smart enough. The others looked at this person strangely, and turned back to each other without any intention of taking advantage of him. Several disciples who were sitting at the same table with the blue-robed boy also avoided him and found new seats, not wanting to interact with him. Seeing this scene, the young man in blue robe was confused and looked at everyone suspiciously, not knowing what he had done to offend the public. Finally, when his eyes fell on a corner of the cafeteria and saw Lu Yun, his pupils suddenly shrank. No, why is the rightful owner here? Now, no matter how confused he was, he knew what a stupid thing he had done. Geniuses have always had an eccentric personality, and any word or incident may trigger the wrath of thunder. For geniuses, you can only get close to them or keep them at a distance, but you can't offend them. Now, he is taking advantage of the rightful owner and offending him. After hesitating on the spot for a while, he finally mustered up the courage to walk up to Lu Yun. Senior brother Lu, just now. I didn't mean what I said just now, and I didn't mean to offend. Lu Yun raised his head, glanced at the worried young man in blue robe in front of him, and said with a smile, you are telling the truth and you are not wrong. How could you offend me? After saying that, he stood up and left without looking at each other again. After Lu Yun left the cafeteria, everyone gathered again. What do you mean by Lu Yun's words? The blue-robed boy said uneasily. Yi Xuan glanced at the young man in blue robe with a rather strange look, pondered for a moment and then said, there are two results. One is that you are lucky. Lu Yun did not pursue your unintentional words, nor did he treat them. Keep it in mind. Hearing this, the blue-robed boy immediately breathed a sigh of relief and continued to ask, what about the other outcome? Yi Xuan said sadly, ha ha, then you are in big trouble. From now on, you will be beaten by a genius disciple at any time. After leaving the canteen, Lu Yun returned to the library. He didn't pay attention to the small things that happened in the canteen. The only thing that surprised him was that Bai Haoxuan actually passed the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower. That's good. After a while, I can go to the dean to fulfill my promise. He was very eager for the top-grade artifact that the dean promised, but the most important thing at the moment was to finish reading all the miscellaneous books in the library. As the saying goes, reading thousands of books is like traveling thousands of miles. The path of martial arts is like traveling. You must also learn knowledge from all aspects to clear more obstacles for climbing to the top of martial arts. Seeing Lu Yun again, the elder of the library opened his sparse eyes. At this moment, Lu Yun felt like a thorn in his back, forcing him to stop. Little guy, although miscellaneous learning is important, only realm is the foundation. After saying that, the elder of the library closed his old eyes again. Thank you for your advice, elder, I will remember it. After saying this respectfully, Lu Yun entered the library. For such old antiques, proper respect must be shown. As for whether to listen or not, that is another matter. There were still few people in the miscellaneous learning area, only a few disciples were looking for the books they needed. Lu Yun did not pay attention to the plans of others. He came to a bookshelf, then skillfully took out a book from among the many books and began to read it. In a blink of an eye, another half a month passed. At this time, Lu Yun finally found a book about the artistic conception of martial arts. Lu Yun was naturally very excited about this, and immediately found a quiet corner and quietly read it. Time passed, and 2 hours passed quickly. Lu Yun stood up and put the book back in place, frowning slightly, and his heart was full of doubts. There are few descriptions about the artistic conception of martial arts, but there are still some good gains. The artistic conception of martial arts is a state, which is the unity of form, spirit, emotion and reason, and the coordination of virtuality, reality and existence. It is both born out of accidents and contained in images. Similarly, the artistic conception of martial arts is also the condensation of mental power, which is invisible to the naked eye, but can play a huge role, shocking people, suppressing opponents, and enhancing one's own strength. There are many kinds of martial arts artistic conception, including sword intention, knife intention, ice and snow artistic conception, killing artistic conception, etc. The killing artistic conception that Lu Yun comprehended is an extension of the origin. This origin belongs only to killing. It is transformed after the killing spirit and killing intention are condensed to the extreme. As long as the killing artistic conception is stimulated, the opponent's spirit will be shocked and suppressed, unable to exert all his strength. Under the blessing of the killing artistic conception, his own strength is also increased. The artistic conception is from level 1 to level 10 from low to high. Level 1 is the beginning, and level 10 is perfect. It is said that after the artistic conception is perfect, it can be manifested. At present, my killing artistic conception is only 10% of the first level. It is considered that I have just started. I don't know when I can achieve the artistic conception manifestation. Abandoning the distracting thoughts in his mind, Lu Yun continued to read the next book. 10 days later, he finished reading the remaining miscellaneous books. When he left, he had 2 more top-grade martial arts in his hands. Leave the library. Lu Yun originally planned to go directly to the dean. However, when he just came out of the library, he saw a person standing outside waiting. Chen Tianyuan. Lu Yun recognized the other person at a glance. Chen Tianyuan was still wearing a black robe like last time. After seeing Lu Yun coming out, Chen Tianyuan waved his hand and motioned Lu Yun to come over. Elder Chen, do you have something to talk to me about? Well, I've been waiting for you here for a long time. If you don't come out, I'll go in and take you out myself. Hearing this, Lu Yun was stunned, and then smiled and said, Elder, please forgive me. I encountered some confusion in martial arts, so I had to go to the library to seek solutions. I didn't expect to stay here for such a long time. It's normal to have doubts, but have your doubts been resolved? This time I have gained a lot, and many of my previous doubts are gone. Haha, I can see that you have gained a lot. Compared with a few months ago, you seem to have changed a lot. After Chen Tianyuan praised Lu Yun generously, he changed the subject and shouted coldly, Lu Yun, tell me the truth, have you passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower a long time ago? Then a terrifying breath burst out, like a huge wave, rushing towards Lu Yun. Why is this old guy saying this again? Lu Yun was helpless and squeezed a few drops of sweat from his forehead. He pretended to be struggling and said in a trembling voice, My disciple. I did pass the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower a month ago. Chen Tianyan flicked his sleeves, retracted the huge pressure, and snorted coldly, "Why do you hide this? Report to the elder, the disciple has always been low-key and has not made a fuss. In addition, I have doubts about martial arts and am eager to find a solution, so I have been delayed in the library for some time. I was just about to report to the Martial Arts Academy this time, but I didn't expect to meet the elder. I didn't expect you to dare to deceive me." Chen Tianyan's face was slightly cold, and he said seriously, "Now follow me to see the dean. This matter is just as Lu Yun wished, and he will not disobey. Come with me." When he turned around, Chen Tianyan could no longer hold the previous coldness, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised an arc. He thought to himself, "You are so young, but you know how to keep a low profile. You have a promising future. However, you take the martial academy too lightly. Everything is in the hands of the dean." In fact, soon after Lu Yun passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower, the dean of the martial academy, Yi Xingchen, learned about it at the first time. He thought that Lu Yun would come to him soon. After all, whether it is to be promoted to a star disciple or to obtain a top-grade real weapon, it is a huge temptation for any new disciple. Unfortunately, Lu Yun withstood two huge temptations and did not come. On the contrary, Bai Haoxuan and Xiao Chen, who passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower behind Lu Yun, arrived one after another, but Lu Yun still did not show up. There was no way, Yi Xingchen had to summon him by force. On the way, Lu Yun asked for other news in a roundabout way, but Chen Tianyan was indifferent. Lu Yun did not give up and asked another question again. "Elder Chen, besides me, which new disciples have passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower?" "There are only 3 including you. The other 2 are Bai Haoxuan and Xiao Chen. I believe you should know this." This time, Chen Tianyan finally stopped being silent and told him straightforwardly. With a good start, Lu Yun began to pursue the victory. "Elder, since I am also going to become a disciple of the Star Hall, can you reveal the situation of the Star Hall in advance to satisfy the curiosity of the disciple?" Chen Tianyan turned a deaf ear. "Elder." Chen Tianyan still ignored it, instead speeding up. Seeing this, Lu Yun had no choice but to speed up to keep up. The further he got to the back, the faster Chen Tianyan's speed became. Lu Yun immediately performed the fierce wind lightning step. "This kid, the speed is not bad, but do you think it's so simple?" Glancing at Lu Yun behind him, Chen Tianyan smiled slightly, and his speed suddenly increased several times. Seeing that the distance between the two sides was getting farther and farther, Lu Yun had to upgrade his fierce wind and lightning step from the level of minor success, and then he could barely keep up. "Haha, not bad, not bad." Seeing Lu Yun catch up again, Chen Tianyan grinned and increased his speed again. "Hey, Elder Chen, wait a minute." Lu Yun shouted and continued to maintain the fierce wind and lightning step at the level of minor success. He was not so stupid that he would reveal all his cards when provoked by others. In addition, even without Chen Tianyan, he could find where Yi Xingchen lived. Not long after, he caught up with Chen Tianyan again. "Boy, you can't do it. Your speed is so slow, almost like a snail," Chen Tianyan said contemptuously and continued to lead the way. Not long after, the two came to the quiet and peaceful courtyard again. The towering tree in the courtyard was as lush and evergreen as ever, protecting the courtyard that looked extremely old. As soon as Chen Tianyan and Lu Yun arrived outside the courtyard, the gate opened automatically. After entering the courtyard, Yi Xingchen stroked his gray beard and looked at Lu Yun with satisfaction. "Lu Yun, I see that you have strong qi and blood, and a strong sense of yang and strength. Have you practiced pure yang gang qi? The dean has a keen eye. I have indeed practiced the martial art of pure yang gang qi." Lu Yun clasped his fists and nodded. Yi Xingchen waved his hand and said with a smile, "Don't be reserved in front of me, relax a little, especially you young people, it's the time to be vigorous and show your talents, don't always hide it." Hearing this, Lu Yun smiled bitterly in his heart. If he showed his talents completely, he might not live for more than a month. "The dean taught me that I know it, but it's just my personality. I don't like to show off, and I don't like to be noticed by too many people." Yi Xingchen shook his head slightly. "You first practiced the pure yang gangqi, and then tempered the gangqi with the jinyang refining method. It will be helpful to practice the later martial arts techniques if you are a little more publicized. Hearing this, Lu Yun was stunned. Will being too low-key affect the progress of practice? I promised before that as long as you can pass the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower within half a year, you will get a top-grade real weapon and be promoted to a disciple of the Star Hall. Yi Xingqian no longer dwelled on the previous topic, but narrowed his eyes and looked at Lu Yun, smiling. You are very good, your performance far exceeds my expectations, and I will also fulfill my promise. Tell me, what type of top-grade real weapon do you want to get? Lu Yun had already thought about this in his mind, and said without hesitation, my disciple is practicing swordsmanship, plus I have some strength, so I want a heavier sword. The tiger-headed sword obtained from the previous bandit suppression was also good, but as Lu Yun's strength increased, it gradually became a little stretched, and he did not dare to fully infuse the qi, for fear of accidentally destroying it. Now that he has the opportunity to obtain a top-grade real weapon, Lu Yun's first choice is naturally a heavy sword. Yi Xingqian did not seem surprised by Lu Yun's choice, and nodded slightly. I immediately waved my hand, and a light flashed in front of him, and Lu Yun saw a black sword floating in the air in front of the other party. The overall color of the broadsword is black, giving people a sense of heaviness. The handle is 1 foot long, with white scales carved on it, which looks very good. The 3-foot-long blade is very sharp. The leaves that fall automatically are cut in half as soon as they touch the blade. This knife is called the white scale purple gold knife. The knife is 4 feet and 5 feet long and weighs 1,080 pounds. As soon as the words fell, the white scale purple gold knife automatically flew towards Lu Yun. White scale purple gold knife. Lu Yun's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he grabbed the handle and immediately felt a sense of heaviness. However, Lu Yun's strength has long exceeded 10,000 pounds, so he doesn't take the weight of 1,000 pounds seriously. After holding the handle tightly, Lu Yun couldn't help but wave it twice, and suddenly the knife energy was vast and the wind was howling. Good knife, good knife. After obtaining the top-quality white-scaled purple-gold sword, Chen Tianyan handled Lu Yun's promotion to a disciple of the Hall of Stars. Passing through an area full of pavilions and palaces, and arriving at a majestic and spectacular pavilion, Chen Tianyan introduced, this building is called Xingqian Tower. It has 9 floors, and each floor has a dedicated training room. There are 9 training rooms on the 9th floor, 20 training rooms on the 8th floor, 30 training rooms on the 7th floor. There are 90 training rooms on the 1st floor, for a total of 450 training rooms. Quote. Glancing at Lu Yun, whose expression remained unchanged, Chen Tianyan added, don't underestimate the star building. There is a special spirit gathering array inside. The higher the floor, the higher the concentration of spiritual energy. Spirit gathering array. Lu Yun had read in the books in the library before that the spirit gathering formation was a product of the sect era. Its function is to gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding area in one place. It can be used for the operation of other formations and can also be used by martial arts experts. Daily practice. The spirit gathering array is also divided into elementary, intermediate, advanced, etc. To be able to cover such a large building, even if it is just a primary spirit gathering array, it will consume a lot of resources, not even less than the consumption of an intermediate spirit gathering array. The higher the realm of a warrior, the greater the need for the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Whether it is to improve his cultivation or restore his true energy or true essence, he needs the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even if Lu Yun uses energy to break through the realm, he still needs to absorb the surrounding aura of heaven and earth. Similarly, when refining the true energy in the true energy realm, you also need to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for replenishment and recovery. Therefore, the importance of a training place with strong aura of heaven and earth to warriors is self-evident. The function of the spirit gathering array came to mind, and Lu Yun couldn't help but sigh that it was indeed a martial arts academy to set up such a spirit gathering array for the disciples of the Star Hall to practice. Thinking of this, Lu Yun became very interested in the Xingqian Tower and asked, Elder Chen, what is the ratio of the richness of spiritual energy on each floor of the Xingqian Tower to the outside world? Chen Tianyan did not hide it. This was also his responsibility. He introduced, the spiritual energy on the first floor of the star building is relatively thin, but it is equivalent to twice that of the outside world. The second floor is equivalent to 3 times. As for the ninth floor, the spiritual energy is the richness as 10 times that of the outside world. Hearing this, Lu Yun's eyes became hot. This is definitely not the primary spirit gathering array. The primary spirit gathering array can only triple the intensity of spiritual energy. On the ninth floor of the Star Tower, the spiritual energy is 10 times more intense than the outside world. Only the intermediate spirit gathering array can achieve such an effect. In other words, this Star Tower does not only have one spirit gathering array. There are at least 2. There are both primary spirit gathering arrays and intermediate spirit gathering arrays. Thinking of this, Lu Yun couldn't help but sincerely admire Wu Yuan's methods in his heart. I dare to ask the elders, there are so many training rooms in the Xingqian Tower, presumably every disciple of the Star's Palace can have a training room, right? Chen Tianyan couldn't help but glance at Lu Yun and said in surprise, "Do you know how many disciples there are in the Hall of Stars?" Lu Yun shook his head. "Including you, there are 3,358. Lu Yun frowned slightly. According to his understanding, there are at most 5,000 or 6,000 elite disciples in the Martial Arts Academy. As for the higher-level disciples of the Star Palace, there are only a few hundred at most. After all, he knows the difficulty of the 10th level of the Vientiane Tower. Most elite disciples cannot pass. Now, Chen Tianyan actually told him that there were more than 3,000 disciples in the Hall of Stars. Chen Tianyan seemed to have guessed what Lu Yun was thinking and said with a smile, "You must be thinking why there are so many disciples in the Hall of Stars. They have almost caught up with the elite disciples." Lu Yun nodded, noncommittal. "Haha, have you forgotten that as long as you pass the 10th floor of the Vientiane Tower, you don't have to leave the Wuyuan, unless you leave voluntarily or are over 35 years old, or other unforeseen circumstances occur." Hearing this, Lu Yun finally reacted. The Martial Arts Academy recruits at least thousands of new disciples every year. After decades of accumulation, the number of disciples in the Hall of Stars will naturally not be in the minority. And compared with the huge population base of the entire Lingwu County, the more than 3,000 disciples of the Star Palace are very few. "Boy, work hard. I believe you will be able to grab a training room in the Star Tower soon." Chen Tianyan patted Lu Yun on the shoulder and took him to continue to visit the Star Hall area. The Star Tower is only the first authority possessed by the disciples of the Hall of Stars. The disciples of the Star Hall are considered the core of the Martial Arts Academy and are worthy of the Martial Arts Academy's expenditure of resources to cultivate. Therefore, in addition to the Xingqian Tower, a spiritually rich training place, there are other special training areas, such as Wenxin Pavilion, Qianwan Palace. Arriving in front of a towering attic made of white jade, Chen Tianyan said, "This is Wenxin Pavilion. In fact, it has some similarities with the Vientiane Tower. However, due to certain restrictions in the Vientiane Tower, some disciples of the Star Hall cannot reach higher levels. Then there is the Wenxin Pavilion, which is dedicated to training the will and martial arts enterprising spirit. 100 contribution points can be spent in it for an hour." Quote, "To put it this way, Wenxin Palace is of no use to me." Lu Yun thought to himself. The Wenxin Temple and the Vientiane Tower have similar functions, so he naturally prefers the Vientiane Tower that costs nothing, not to mention that the Vientiane Tower still has contribution points to collect. Next, Chen Tianyan took Lu Yun to Qianwan Palace. Thousand Illusions Palace is very magical. It simulates corresponding illusions through illusion arrays and other spiritual materials, specifically helping the disciples of Kungxing Palace understand the artistic conception of their respective martial arts. For example, disciples who practice swordsmanship can enter the illusion about swordsmanship and understand the corresponding sword intention. Other disciples will enter the corresponding illusion according to their true chi or true essence attributes and comprehend the corresponding martial arts realm. Lu Yun's killing realm can be improved by simulating a large-scale war scene in the Thousand Illusion Hall, killing and sharpening. If he wants to comprehend other martial arts realms, such as the Ice Realm, Water Realm, and Fire Realm, he can enter the corresponding illusion to comprehend. Unfortunately, even with the special training place such as the Thousand Illusion Hall, there are still very few disciples in the Star Hall who can comprehend the martial arts realm at the True Chi realm stage. Most of them can only comprehend their martial arts realm in the Yuanhua realm or even the Yuanyi realm. The reason why Lu Yun was able to comprehend the killing realm was because he had the help of the panel to practice the 7 killing swordsmanship to an unprecedented level, and with the help of a large amount of energy value, he was able to succeed. If he relied entirely on himself, it would probably take a long time to find the way. However, I have practiced the fierce wind lightning step. Can I use it to comprehend the realm of thunder or wind? Lu Yun was daydreaming in his heart, and for a moment he became looking forward to the Thousand Illusions Hall. Chen Tianyan smiled unconsciously, and was quite satisfied with Lu Yun's expectant expression. After entering the Hall of Stars, you can enter and leave the martial arts academy on your own without completing tasks, but you must remember that while you are young, you should develop your talents as much as possible and build a solid foundation. This will help you climb to a higher level of martial arts, otherwise you will regret it in the future. Lu Yun also knew the pros and cons of this without Chen Tianyan saying it. Immediately, Chen Tianyan formally led Lu Yun to handle the promotion of the disciples of the Hall of Stars. The process was very simple, just registration and replacement of identity tokens. The identity tokens of the disciples of the Hall of Stars were more advanced, and the overall color was purple. In addition to identity proof and completing tasks, they were also credentials for entering and leaving certain special training places. In addition, Lu Yun also obtained 2-star robes, which were the attire for disciples of the Hall of Stars. The styles and designs were the same, but the colors were different, purple, black and pure white respectively, and there were star patterns on the sleeves. The treatment of the disciples of the Hall of Stars is naturally not just that. As long as you are promoted to a disciple of the Hall of Stars, you will be given a fixed amount of resources every month. The distribution of this resource is based on the performance of the Wanxiang Tower. Among them, the disciples of the Hall of Stars who have passed the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower will be given a piece of Spirit Crystal every month. Spirit Crystal is a training resource for warriors, and it is also the main medium for warriors to exchange. The Spirit Crystal contains sufficient spiritual energy. 1 Spirit Crystal is enough to maintain the training of a warrior in the early stage of the True Qi realm for 10 days and a half months. It can be seen that the preciousness of Spirit Crystals. After Lu Yun put away the star robe, identity token and Spirit Crystal, he came to the pavilion surrounded by stars under the leadership of a deacon. There are many pavilions, each of which has 2 floors, standing on several peaks like stars in the sky. This is where the disciples of the Hall of Stars live, the Star Peak. Soon, Lu Yun came to the halfway point of a mountain under the leadership of the deacon, where he lived. A single building, 2 floors, with a small courtyard, beautiful environment, quiet, occasionally you can hear the sound of birds singing. This is the 3358th building, it will belong to you from now on, you are responsible for cleaning and tidying up. After giving the order, the deacon turned and left. Lu Yun did not enter the small building immediately. He first looked around and found that the distance between each small building was very far, about 20 feet away. It's good this way, as long as the noise of cultivation is not too loud, it will not affect each other. Lu Yun pushed open the courtyard door and entered it after talking to himself. Everything is very new, so new that Lu Yun doubted whether anyone had lived here. He opened the rooms one by one, and the furniture and equipment inside were indeed brand new, and no one had lived there. What surprised him was that there was also a separate bathroom and kitchen. It's normal to have a bathroom, why is there a kitchen? Do we have to do it ourselves and have enough food and clothing? Lu Yun glanced at the kitchen utensils, all of which were new and had never been used. This undoubtedly proved his inner guess. Well, when I get hungry, I can just go to the county city and find a restaurant to eat. Lu Yun closed the kitchen and went to the bedroom. The sheets and quilts were all new and neatly folded on the bed. There were some other furnishings in the room, but they were all very simple. Lu Yun didn't care and went to the practice room. Compared with other rooms, the practice room was simpler, with only a white futon. After a casual walk, Lu Yun finally figured out the layout of the whole building. The bedroom, practice room, guest room, etc. were on the 2nd floor, and the kitchen, bathroom, and grocery room were on the 1st floor. In addition, the yard was also relatively wide, about half the size of a football field, where he could practice his sword skills at will. However, because no one had ever stayed there, Lu Yun had to do a big cleaning as soon as possible. It took almost 2 hours for Lu Yun to clean up all the rooms and yards in the whole building. When he stopped, it was already dark. After taking a shower, Lu Yun changed into a purple star robe and went directly into the training room. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Arts Academy. Martial Arts: Broken Wind Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. 7 Killing Sword Technique Tongshuan, cannot be upgraded. Black Tiger Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Fierce Wind Lightning Step, Great Success 70%. Pure Yang Martial Arts Chi Chapter, Entry 1%. Root Bones, 6 stars. Martial Arts, Early Chi Realm 1 Refinement. Energy Value, 1211 automatically increases by 1 every 2 days. State of Mind, Killing State of Mind First Level 10%. For the past few months, he has been immersed in the library and has not practiced. Except for the improvement of the killing state of mind, the progress of other martial arts has not changed. However, the energy value has increased a little. According to the current panel, even if Lu Yun does not refine any pills, he will have energy value credits, 1 every 2 days. As his aptitude or realm improves in the future, the speed of energy accumulation will continue to increase. Perhaps one day, Lu Yun will have inexhaustible energy without doing anything. Thinking of this, Lu Yun's heart was shaken. However, as the level of martial arts improves, the energy required will increase. Will that day really come? Abandoning the distracting thoughts in his mind, Lu Yun sat cross-legged on the white cushion and began to concentrate. The artistic conception of martial arts is closely related to mental power, and mental power is located in the sea of consciousness. Lu Yun concentrated his attention and sank his consciousness into the sea of consciousness. Not long after, a gray space appeared in his sight. The gray space seemed to have nothing and was boundless. In the center of his sight, the gray mist dissipated and a blood-red light appeared. Lu Yun concentrated all his attention, and his sight became clearer, and he approached the blood-red light. Soon, he saw the full view of the blood-red light. In the blood-colored light, a blood-colored lotus platform was born, and the blood-colored light was all around, which was particularly conspicuous in the gray space. After Lu Yun's sight approached the blood-colored lotus platform, he immediately felt a terrifying killing aura, as if it was a scene of thousands of troops fighting, the sound of golden swords and iron horses, the whistling of thousands of horses galloping, and the roar of thousands of souls. Everything made people tremble in their hearts. Soon, the blood light on the blood lotus platform was strong, and it quickly absorbed the gray breath around it. Lu Yun noticed that the blood lotus platform was constantly trembling, as if it was beginning to bloom. I don't know how long it took, the lotus blossomed. But there was only one petal on the lotus platform. At the moment when this petal of blood lotus blossomed, the monstrous killing breath burst out, the gray space shook, and countless breaths whistled in. This gray space is the spiritual world of the warrior, that is, the sea of consciousness. This is what Lu Yun learned from the books in the library. Before this, he didn't know the sea of consciousness at all. However, after several months of precipitation in the library, he knew a lot of martial arts common sense, including the sea of consciousness. Every warrior has a sea of consciousness, but not every warrior can open and enter the sea of consciousness space. Only when you comprehend a martial arts realm can the sea of consciousness space be opened. The blood lotus platform is the condensation of the killing realm. The blooming of a petal means that the killing realm has reached the first level. When the killing state reaches the 10th level, that is, when it is completely perfect, the blood lotus will bloom completely, and 10 petals will be completely condensed. At that time, the true meaning will be manifested. The sight is completely focused on the blood lotus. In an instant, the scene in front of him suddenly changed, and he came to a blood-red world without knowing when. The ground was in a mess, filled with the breath of destruction, killing, and violence, lingering constantly. The sky was scarlet, as if it was completely shrouded in blood. Lu Yun found himself turned into a blood-colored lotus platform, sitting on this blood-colored sky, constantly absorbing the breath of destruction, killing and violence, and strengthening himself in turn. One day, half a year, 10 years. As time went by, the blood-colored lotus platform seemed to grow very slowly, with only one petal blooming. Many years later, on this chaotic land, blood-colored iron hooves suddenly rushed over. Blood-colored war horses, blood-colored armor, blood-colored world. The two sides fought fiercely, the sound of fighting shook the sky, and the blood was scattered all over the world. This piece of blood-red world became even heavier, and the floating atmosphere of destruction, killing, and violence became more intense. And the blood-colored lotus rooted in the sky bloomed the second and third petals. It was a long time again. The blood-colored earth, the blood-colored war horses galloped, and the tall and strong monsters appeared. In this world filled with the terrifying atmosphere of destruction and killing, both sides were completely crazy. There was no pause, no reason, and they fought each other thoroughly. In the end, they were completely swallowed by the blood-red breath. The blood-colored lotus platform in the sky bloomed blood-colored lotus again. As more petals bloomed, the murderous atmosphere of this piece of world became thicker and more terrifying. From time to time, different creatures broke into it, fighting constantly, and finally turned into nutrients for the blood-colored lotus platform to bloom. In the end, Lu Yun withdrew from the bloody world because of a stabbing pain in his mind. At this time, only one petal bloomed on the bloody lotus platform in the consciousness sea space, emitting blood-red light. In the training room, Lu Yun sat cross-legged on a white futon, his closed eyes suddenly opened, and a ray of blood-red light flashed away. Then, a slight pain came from my mind. After half a cup of tea, the pain eased a lot. This pain is obviously caused by excessive mental loss. Could it be said that entering the sea of consciousness space will also consume mental energy, or that entering that bloody world will lead to a rapid consumption of mental energy? Lu Yun couldn't figure it out for a while. His mental strength had not yet been restored and he was relatively weak. A slight lingering pain could be felt when he used his brain a little. He didn't dare to think about what he had experienced before, so he could only end the practice temporarily and go back to his room to rest. I slept very deeply and didn't wake up until noon the next day. Sitting on the bed, Lu Yun closed his eyes tightly and recalled what he had experienced yesterday. The blooming bloody lotus platform in the consciousness sea space, and the bloody lotus platform he transformed into in the bloody world, feed all living beings. I looked at the progress of the killing concept on the panel and saw that it was still only 10% of the first level. The artistic conception of killing has not improved, so what happened to everything I saw in the bloody world? Recalling all that, Lu Yun was still shocked. The bloody sky and earth, the smell of killing and destruction, made people feel heavy and oppressive. Moreover, the mental energy I consumed before was probably due to seeing that bloody world. Lu Yun frowned slightly. The bloody lotus platform continued to absorb the breath of killing, destruction, and violence, and then the petals bloomed one by one. This heralds the improvement of the artistic conception of killing, which requires constant killing and life and blood as nourishment. This kind of improvement is obviously different from other martial arts artistic conceptions. The general artistic conception of martial arts requires continuous understanding and improvement. The artistic conception of killing requires constant killing. There is no advantage or disadvantage between the two methods of improvement. However, if this is the case, Lu Yun will not be able to improve his killing mood for the time being, unless he uses energy. It's just that the current killing mood requires 50 energy points to be consumed every time the cultivation progress is improved. This method of promotion was too extravagant. Lu Yun did not dare or was unwilling to do so. In comparison, Lu Yun is more inclined to improve his martial arts. When the energy value is sufficient, it will be used to improve the killing mood. For now, the priority is to improve the Chunyang martial arts code. Chunyang martial arts has been stagnant for a long time at the entry-level 1% of the Junshi chapter, and it's time to improve. After washing up casually, Lu Yun came to the training room and sat cross-legged on the white futon. Bringing up the panel, Lu Yun made a thought and directly consumed 50 energy points. Consume 50 energy points, and the Pure Yang Martial Arts Chapter Junshi is increased to 11% of the entry level. As if this was not the limit that his body could bear, Lu Yun directly consumed 70 energy points at once. 70 energy points are consumed, and the Pure Yang Martial Arts Chapter Junshi is increased to 25% of the entry level. Still not the limit. Consumption of 100 energy points. Chunyang Martial Arts Chapter Junshi is increased to 45% of entry level. At this moment, Lu Yun felt a stinging pain in his body. At the same time, the pure yang qi in Dantian is constantly compressed and refined. In his mind, a figure was constantly refining the pure yang qi in his Dantian in a training room with very strong spiritual energy. Every moment, Lu Yun could feel the improvement in the True Qi chapter of the Pure Yang Martial Arts Code, as well as the enhancement in the quality and power of the Pure Yang Qi in his Dantian. Consumption of 100 energy points. Chunyang Martial Arts Chapter Junqi Chapter is upgraded to. After consuming 500 energy points, Chunyang Martial Arts was finally upgraded to Xiao Chang. Name: Lu Yun. Force: Filing Martial Academy. Martial Arts: Po Feng Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Keisha Sword Technique Tong Zan, cannot be upgraded. Black Tiger Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Gale Lightning Step, 70% success. Chunyang Martial Arts Junqi Chapter, small success rate 1%. Root Bone, 6 stars. Martial Arts, True Qi Realm, 3 times of refining. Energy value, 711, automatically increases by 1 in 2 days. Artistic Conception, Killing Artistic Conception, first level 10%. Ha, finally promoted to Xiaocheng level. Lu Yun was soaked all over. Even though his physical strength was barely comparable to the real weapon, consuming 100 energy points at one time was still more than he could bear. There were not many losses, otherwise he might really not be able to bear it and collapse on the spot. After resting for a while, after his body and spirit were almost recovered, Lu Yun's mind sank into his Dantian. Now the pure Yang Gang Qi in the Dantian has been refined 3 times. Every ray of pure Yang Gang Qi is extremely condensed, as if it is very heavy, and is squeezed desperately towards the bottom of the Dantian. At the same time, because after 3 times of refining, the pure Yang Gang Qi's extremely strong and Yang attributes have become more intense. The pure Yang Gang Qi swimming in the meridians is like magma wandering, surging and exuding a scorching breath. Withdrawing his mind, his eyes like stars suddenly opened, and the brilliance like the sun flashed away. He stretched out his right hand, his fingers slightly spread, and the pure Yang Qi condensed in his hand, like a miniature sun, exuding a hot and domineering aura. The temperature in the training room was rising rapidly, and the surrounding air roared violently. After only 3 refinements, the pure Yang Qi is so terrifying. If the final refinement is completed, I'm afraid it will not be far from the real pure Yang. Put away the pure Yang Qi in his hand. Lu Yun took out 2 martial arts from the Zumi bag. Both are top-grade martial arts, namely, Qingfeng Yanyudeo and Dongfengpo. These 2 sword martial arts cost Lu Yun 2,250 contribution points. Now, there are only 50 contribution points left on the identity token. It can be said that what he has left now is only his super strength. In less than an hour, the 2 martial arts were completely memorized in his mind. With anticipation and excitement, he nervously opened the panel. I hope I won't be disappointed. His eyes fell directly on the martial arts column on the panel. Martial Arts, Broken Wind Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. 7 Killing Sword Technique Tongshuan, cannot be upgraded. Black Tiger Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Qingfeng Yanyu Sword, not yet in the entry level. Dongfeng Po, not yet in the entry level. Fierce Wind Lightning Step, great success 70%. Pure Yang Martial Arts True Qi Chapter, minor success 1%. There is no word that can be fused. Lu Yun suddenly felt depressed and a little frustrated. In his opinion, sword techniques can be fused as long as they are of the same attribute, so he exchanged 2 wind attribute sword techniques without hesitation. But the result was not as he wished. Well, anyway, I do have a sword technique at the top martial arts level now, and now I will upgrade it to a minor success. Frustration came quickly and went quickly. Lu Yun collected his thoughts and began to upgrade Qingfeng Yanyu Sword. Consume 40 energy points. Qingfeng Yanyu Sword is upgraded to entry 1%. At the same time, a figure practicing sword techniques appeared in his mind. 1 day, 2 days, half a month later, the Qingfeng Yanyu Sword finally reached the entry level. At this moment, Lu Yun's eyes suddenly lit up. I saw a sudden change on the panel, and a fusion panel appeared behind the 2 martial arts, Po Feng Sword and Qingfeng Yanyu Sword. Seeing this scene, Lu Yun slapped his thigh in excitement. His expectations had just been shattered, and he no longer had any expectations for it. But he didn't expect that there would be a bright future after all the difficulties. Chapter 91. I should have thought of it earlier. Before the Qingfeng Yanyu sword is introduced, the panel will not prompt whether it can be fused. The first time he found the fusion panel was because he practiced the Jinyang refining method to the entry level and promoted to the True Qi realm. So he didn't know whether the fusion panel appeared because of the entry level of the Jinyang refining method or because of the realm breakthrough. Now it seems that it is because of the appearance of both. Thinking of this, Lu Yun spent another 40 energy points to upgrade Dongfang Po to the entry level. Without any surprise, a fusion panel also appeared behind Dongfang Po. Lu Yun's previous guess was correct. Even if it was a sword-like martial art, it could be fused if the attributes were the same. Clicking on any fusion panel after the Pofeng sword, Qingfeng Yanyu sword, and Dongfang Po martial arts, there will be information that it can be fused with any other two martial arts. However, the energy values consumed for fusion are different. This is also normal. Although the three martial arts have the same attributes, there are gaps between them. Among them, the gap between the Broken Wind Blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu blade and Dongfang Po is huge. In addition, its level is low, and the energy value required to merge with the other two martial arts is also low. Lu Yun opened the fusion panel of the Broken Wind Blade technique, and a line of information appeared on it. It was found that the Broken Wind Blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu blade can be merged, and the fusion consumes 650 energy values. It was found that the Broken Wind Blade technique and the Dongfang Po can be merged, and the fusion consumes 680 contribution values. Lu Yun smiled bitterly and shook his head. He now has only 631 energy values left, and he can't merge at all. As for the fusion panel of the Qingfeng Yanyu blade and the Dongfang Po, Lu Yun didn't dare to open it to see. There is really no energy value. Hey, I'm a penniless pauper again. It seems that I have to put the matter of becoming an alchemist on the agenda. Lu Yun got up helplessly, left the practice room, and lay on a wooden chair on the balcony on the second floor to bask in the sun. Becoming an alchemist is not that simple, and it is not something that can be achieved overnight. You have to plan it well. First, you need a recipe, and then collect spiritual medicine according to the recipe. Neither the recipe nor the spiritual medicine is easy to obtain. In fact, Lu Yun can't even get the simplest furnace now, which can be said to be a case of a skilled cook having no rice to cook. The road to becoming an alchemist is long and arduous, so you have to take it step by step. Lu Yun sighed helplessly while lying on the chair, closing his eyes to rest. At some point, the sun was setting in the west, and the breeze was rising. A yellow leaf fell down, swaying in the autumn wind, and finally rested on a light blue hilt. It seems that my guess was right. The owner of this small building is indeed you. Lu Yun opened his eyes lazily, and his eyes fell on the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him. His sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, his eyes were sharp, and he was wearing a pure white star robe, which made his temperament even more extraordinary and peerless. This young man was Xiao Chen. After not seeing him for a few months, he had grown taller, and his face was firm and mature, with more and more the temperament and demeanor of a swordsman. Lu Yun stood up, glanced at him lightly, and said unhappily, "Why did you come upstairs without saying hello? If it were someone else, I'm afraid I would definitely give you a lesson." Xiao Chen ignored what Lu Yun had just said, and said concisely, "I have accepted another task, a two-person task, are you interested?" Lu Yun was of course interested, and asked without thinking, "What task? Is the contribution value high?" As if he had known the result long ago, Xiao Chen's face was still calm, and he said lightly, "The task of recruiting and assessing new disciples, the minimum contribution value is 3,000. Recruiting a 5-star ordinary root bone can get an additional 300 contribution points. Recruiting a 5-star top root bone, an additional 500 contribution points. 6-star root bone, an additional 1,000 contribution points. Tasks responsible for the assessment of new disciples." Lu Yun looked suspicious. This task looks simple, time-saving, and easy to complete, but the requirements for strength are very strict. There are two reasons for this. First, once you accept this task, it means that you are the examiner for the recruitment of new disciples, which is equivalent to the representative and symbol of the martial arts academy. If your strength is too weak, it will affect the reputation of the martial arts academy. Second, the examiner is responsible for maintaining order during the assessment process and protecting the safety of new disciples. Without strong strength, it is difficult to prevent accidents. Last year, Lin Chen and Meng Hongfei, who were responsible for the recruitment and assessment in Yunshui County, were very powerful. One was in the Yuanhua realm, and the other was in the Junshi realm who could kill the Yuanhua realm. It can be seen that the Martial Arts Academy attaches great importance to the recruitment and assessment of new disciples. Xiao Chen pretended not to see Lu Yun's doubts, and acted as if he didn't see it, and he didn't bother to say it if you didn't ask. If you asked, it depends on your mood. Even though he was a little confused, Lu Yun didn't dwell on it. Such a good thing that you can't find even with a lantern fell on him, so there is naturally no reason to refuse. As for strength, he didn't think he was weak. Departure location and time. Seeing Lu Yun being so straightforward, Xiao Chen's face, which had always been very calm, finally showed a trace of smile, like the sun in the last days of winter, warm and cold. I'll come to see you tomorrow morning. After saying that, Xiao Chen jumped up and disappeared from Lu Yun's sight. Lu Yun stretched out 2 fingers and rubbed his temples. His mind became much lighter. He looked at the sunset that dyed half of the sky red and whispered to himself, "It's not too late yet, go out for a walk." Soon, he came to the Internal Affairs Hall, the Disciple Promotion Office. "What's the matter?" One of the black-clothed deacons saw that Lu Yun was young, but he was wearing a purple-black star robe, and said with a little kindness on his face. Lu Yun was not surprised by this. "Deacon, please help me check whether there is a disciple named Duan Qing among the new disciples of the Star Hall in the past 6 months. Duan Qing left a good impression on him, and he had been in the Martial Arts Academy for many years and had many connections. This time, he wanted to find the other party to deal with the Zumi bag and spirit crystal in his hand, and to inquire about other things. However, he was not sure whether the other party had become a disciple of the Star Hall. "It's a small matter, very simple." The deacon turned around and took out a registration book from the file bag behind him. After flipping through the pages, he paused for a moment and said, "I have read all the disciples who have been promoted to the Star Hall for nearly a year, but I just can't find the name Duan Qing." "Oh, okay, thank you, Deacon." Lu Yun thanked him and turned to leave. He originally thought that Duan Qing had become a disciple of the Star Hall, so he came here to check on his residence, but he didn't expect to get this result. When the sun completely set, Lu Yun appeared in the elite disciple area, Duan Qing's original residence. Knocked on the door lightly, but no one responded. "Is he not there?" Lu Yun frowned slightly. He increased his strength and knocked on the door a few more times, but there was still no movement from inside. "Well, find someone else to deal with it." Lu Yun turned around and prepared to leave, and suddenly saw a figure approaching quickly in the distance. He had good eyesight, and although he was far away, he could still see the man's appearance clearly. A face that looked like 2 big meat buns stuffed in it, squeezing the eyes into a slit, a relatively small nose, like a groove, and a round body that looked like a meatball from a distance. This person was Duan Qing, but compared to the first time they met, Duan Qing seemed to have changed a little. There was a hint of sadness on his face, his expression was a little listless, and his mind was not very focused, so when he was about to reach his residence, he did not notice Lu Yun. Ahem. Seeing Duan Qing about to bump into him, Lu Yun coughed. Duan Qing was startled, and when he came to his senses, he saw that it was Lu Yun, and his worries subsided, and a smile appeared on his fat face. Sorry, I didn't notice it was you, junior brother Lu." He immediately welcomed Lu Yun into the room. He placed a plate of fruit and a pot of tea on the table, and then poured a cup for each of them before sitting down. "Senior brother Duan, I saw that you were uneasy just now, what's going on?" Lu Yun put the teacup aside and asked softly. "Well, this is a long story." Duan Qing sighed deeply. After taking a sip of tea slowly, he sighed again, as if he had something to hide. In response, Lu Yun had to change the subject again. "Senior brother Duan, I remember it's been almost a year since you passed the 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower." Hearing this, Duan Qing picked up the teacup again and took a deep sip, and the worry between his brows became even stronger. After a long silence, he said helplessly, "It has been nearly 10 months. I thought that as long as I settled down for a while, I could pass the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower and then be promoted to a disciple of the Hall of Stars. But I didn't expect that the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower was so difficult. Even after I refined the true chi 3 times, I still couldn't pass it. After saying that, Duan Qing lowered his head silently, as if he was embarrassed to look at Lu Yun. When Lu Yun entered the martial arts academy, he had already passed the 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. Now Lu Yun has become a disciple of the Hall of Stars, and he is still standing still. Lu Yun took a sip of tea and said, "Just this, I'm afraid it's not enough to make you so sad and distracted." Haha, junior brother Lu is really smart. The failure of the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower really can't hit me. Speaking of this, Duan Qing no longer hid it and told Lu Yun the whole story. Duan Qing is one of the collateral disciples of a family in Lingwu County. He is also a genius, but he was promoted to the True Chi realm at the age of 19. As long as he can become a disciple of the Star Hall of the Martial Academy before the age of 20, he can get the support of the family and help him continue to climb in the martial arts. In fact, whether he can get the support of the family is not important. What is important is that the branch where Duan Qing belongs can get the attention of the family from now on, so as to allocate more resources. It's just a pity that he has been stuck at the 10th level and cannot be promoted to a disciple of the Star Hall. Alas, since I found out that I have a 4-star root bone, the elders in my family have almost poured most of their resources to me, just asking me to lead our branch to rise. Now the time is getting closer and closer. Duan Qing smiled bitterly and helplessly. At this time, he was completely different from the wretched performance in the past. He was more responsible and helpless. Brother, you are obsessed. The rise and fall of the family has its own destiny. You can't force it. Just practice diligently and don't let other things affect your mood. Knowing the ins and outs of the matter, Lu Yun said indifferently. I understand this principle. I also want to practice peacefully in the martial arts academy, but things are not so easy to do. Whatever, talking about these things will only add to the trouble. After drinking the tea in the cup, Duan Qing asked Lu Yun, "Brother Lu, you came so late, is there anything you need my help with?" Lu Yun nodded, and without being polite, he took out a sumaru bag from his arms and handed it to Duan Qing. Duan Qing took the sumaru bag and asked, "Brother Lu, what is this?" "I want to get rid of this sumaru bag and everything inside." Brother Duan has been in the martial arts academy for such a long time, and he is also a disciple of a noble family. I think he should have a way. Okay, let me take a look at the things inside first. Duan Qing opened the sumaru bag and took out the things inside one by one. It was a tiger-headed broadsword, a book of thunder swordsmanship and a piece of spirit crystal. If all of them were converted into contribution points, how much would it be? Lu Yun asked. One spiritual crystal can usually be exchanged for 100 contribution points. It's hard to say what the others are. Let me take a look. Duan Qing shook his head slightly, looking at the book of Benlai's sword method repeatedly. Lu Yun nodded. Anyway, he was not in a hurry. He sat on a chair beside him and sipped his tea slowly. After a while, Duan Qing picked up the tiger-headed sword to check. Although this tiger-headed sword is not a real weapon, it is definitely the best among ordinary weapons. It should be worth 70 or 80 contribution points. Put the tiger-headed sword down and picked up the Benlai sword method again. He opened it and read it for more than 10 breaths, then closed it and said to Lu Yun solemnly, "Junior brother Lu, this martial arts book can be traded to me. I am willing to pay 15 spiritual crystals." This. Lu Yun hesitated. It's not that he thinks 15 spiritual crystals are too little. Benlai sword method is just a first-class martial arts. Duan Qing's 15 spiritual crystals are worth the money. But now he doesn't lack spiritual crystals, nor does he need them. What he wants is contribution points. If he was not in a hurry to go out, the spirit crystals would not matter. After all, he could buy what he needed by going to the county town. If junior brother Lu needs contribution points, you can exchange them with contribution points. I just happen to have some contribution points on me now. Duan Qing continued to add. Okay, no problem. Lu Yun agreed happily. The Zumi bag is 300 contribution points at the weapon building. If it is traded privately, it is worth at most 250 contribution points. After saying that, Duan Qing put the tiger-headed broadsword and spirit crystal back into the Zumi bag, and the thunder sword technique was put into his arms. Brother Lu, I will accept the thunder sword skill first. I will transfer 1,500 contribution points to you. As for the others, it may take some time to trade them out. Okay. Immediately, Duan Qing used the identity token to directly transfer 1,500 contribution points to Lu Yun, and the matter was temporarily concluded. After taking back the identity token, Lu Yun asked, "Brother Duan, do you have a way to get the pill formula?" Duan Qing shook his head directly. Even the lowest level pill formula is extremely precious and will not appear on the market easily. I am just a small Qi realm disciple and am not qualified to touch such precious and scarce things as pill formulas. Hearing this, Lu Yun's eyebrows condensed. Then are there other channels? Of course there are channels, and more than one. Duan Qing said. Oh, tell me quickly. Lu Yun seemed a little impatient. Duan Qing did not keep the secret, and said slowly, the first is to participate in the auction. Lingwu County holds an auction every year. At the auction, there are all kinds of treasures, including elixirs, martial arts, magic weapons, etc., and occasionally there will be pill recipes, but even the lowest level pill recipes require at least dozens or hundreds of spirit crystals. So expensive. Lu Yun was also surprised. Of course, the lowest level first-grade pill recipe can only be refined into first-grade pills, but it represents a kind of inheritance, the inheritance of alchemists. Once a family has a pill recipe, it has the opportunity to cultivate its own alchemist. Duan Qing analyzed. Lu Yun said with some confusion, "That's just a first-grade alchemist, what's the use of it?" Of course, a first-grade alchemist is useless, but as long as you become a first-grade alchemist, you can register with the Alchemist Alliance, become a member of the Alchemist Alliance, and enjoy various benefits of the Alchemist Alliance. Alchemist Alliance. Hearing this name, Lu Yun's mind was like flipping a book, and soon the information about the Alchemist Alliance emerged. The Alchemist Alliance is also one of the official institutions of the Great Yuan dynasty. However, unlike the Tianzun Division and Tianjian Palace, the Alchemist Alliance is a relatively loose organization, and its members are relatively free. The Alchemist Alliance is headquartered in Zhongzhou, and has branches in various states and counties. Moreover, 7 or 8 out of 10 pills in the entire Great Yuan dynasty come from the Alchemist Alliance. Filing Martial Arts Academy does not have alchemists, and all the pills in the pill building come from the Alchemist Alliance. It can be said that in each county, the Alchemist Alliance is as transcendent as the Martial Arts Academy, and its status is even higher than that of the county governor's office. Retracting his thoughts, Lu Yun asked again, in addition to the auction, what are other channels for obtaining pill recipes? Duan Qing smiled and said, it's very simple, just find an alchemist to become your apprentice, or kill people to rob treasures. When Lu Yun heard that the second channel was to find an alchemist to become his apprentice, he shook his head. Not to mention whether he could find an alchemist, and whether he was willing to accept him as a disciple. For Lu Yun alone, becoming a disciple was impossible. He had a panel, and he only needed to increase his energy value, and he didn't need a master to teach him. Moreover, suddenly having an extra master was equivalent to having an extra accident, and if he was not careful, he would be found out. Therefore, from the beginning, whether in martial arts or in other aspects, he never thought about becoming a disciple. Becoming a disciple was not feasible, and killing people for treasures was not reliable. In this case, the pill recipe could only be obtained at the auction. Thinking of this, Lu Yun asked, how long is it until the auction? There is still about half a year. After talking so much with Lu Yun, Duan Qing felt much better and said half-jokingly, if junior brother Lu really wants to participate in the auction, prepare early, otherwise you can only stare blankly when you see the things you like. Of course. Before leaving, Lu Yun felt that he still had to say something. After thinking for a while, he said in a calm tone. Only by focusing on cultivation can you easily break through the bottleneck. In addition, if you need help, you can always find me. Duan Qing was stunned for a while, then a smile appeared on his face, okay. After leaving Duan Qing, Lu Yun went to the pill building to exchange 3 bottles of Xuanyuan Dan before returning to his residence. In the practice room, after Lu Yun refined the 3 bottles of Xuanyuan Dan, the energy value on the panel broke through the 1000 mark again. 1681 energy values. Seeing so many energy values, Lu Yun's eyes flickered. It is found that the broken wind blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu sword can be fused, and the fusion consumes 650 energy points. Looking at the information on the Qingfeng Yanyu sword fusion panel, Lu Yun's mind moved slightly. The energy value was consumed instantly by 650. At the same time, the broken wind blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu sword on the martial arts column on the panel disappeared. Then, a huge memory appeared in the depths of his mind. Lu Yun had experience with this and quickly absorbed this memory. Lu Feng Tianwu. Lu Yun whispered softly, and the shock in his eyes could not be concealed. Lu Feng Tianwu is a new martial art formed by the fusion of the broken wind blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu sword. In the memory, Lu Feng Tianwu is directly at the entry level. At the same time, the original memories of the broken wind blade technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu sword did not disappear, but were simply eliminated from the panel. Lu Feng Tianwu is both a sword technique and a sword technique. That's right, the Lu Feng Tianwu, which is a fusion of the broken wind sword technique and the Qingfeng Yanyu sword, has only one move, Baihua. Lu Feng Tianwu can actually be called Baihua Lu Feng Tianwu. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Arts Academy. Martial Arts: Qixia Sword Technique Tongshuan, cannot be upgraded. Black Tiger Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Dongfeng Po, 1% for entry, can be integrated. Lu Feng Tianwu Baihua, 1% for entry, can be integrated. Li Feng Flashing Lightning Step, 70% for great success. Chunyang Martial Arts Qi Chapter, 1% for minor success. Root Bones, 6 stars. Martial Arts, Qi Realm, 3 times of refining. Energy value, 1031, automatically increases by 1 every 2 days. Artistic Concept, Killing Artistic Concept, 10% for the first level. Opening the fusion panel, Lu Yun frowned slightly, with an indescribable helplessness on his face. The energy value required to fuse Dongfeng Po and Lu Feng Tianwu is as high as 1,500. This value has completely exceeded his expectations and tolerance limit, and he immediately gave up the idea of continuing the fusion. From the current situation, I can only improve Lu Feng Tianwu for the time being. After putting away the fusion and the panel, Lu Yun calmed down and focused on Lu Feng Tianwu, and then added some points to improve it. Consumption. The entry-level Lu Feng Tianwu increases 1 cultivation progress by 3 energy values, and it consumes a total of 300 energy values to improve it to the small success level. Lu Yun did not stop and continued to improve, preparing to consume all the energy values. Half an hour later, Lu Yun completely absorbed and digested the memories in his mind. At the same time, he found that his understanding of the sword was deeper, as if he had practiced the sword for more than 10 years, and there was an impulse in his heart to break the mountains and seas with a lofty sentiment and a sword. After a long time, he suppressed this impulse. His attention fell on the panel. Martial Arts. Lu Feng Tianwu, 100 flowers, 13% perfection, fusion available. Energy value. 1 automatically increases every 2 days. From the minor level to the major level, 600 energy values are consumed. From the initial perfection to the perfection 13%, the energy value is finally exhausted. Putting away the panel, Lu Yun did not plan to continue practicing for the time being. After a period of fusion and improvement, his mental and physical strength were consumed a lot. In addition, it was late, so Lu Yun did not plan to continue practicing. Leaving the practice room, he went to the bathroom to wash his body with cold water, and then went back to the bedroom to lie down and rest. The next day, he woke up before the fish belly white appeared in the sky. First, he refined the pure yang gangqi for an hour, and then practiced the swordsmanship for half an hour. Xiao Chen also arrived as promised and entered his yard quietly. "Are you ready? Xuanzhou will set off in half an hour. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Lu Yun put the 100-scaled purple gold sword into its sheath. "Okay, let's go." Xiao Chen moved and flew out of the hospital. "Hey, it's not like there's no way." Lu Yun complained and moved, leaving an afterimage in place. As for the courtyard door that represents the 3358th small building of the Disciples of the Hall of Stars, there has never been a sound of opening or closing the door from the beginning to the end. Filing Plaza. There are 5 unusually large and magnificent ships floating in the air several feet above the ground. There are actually 5 mysterious arcs. Lu Yun couldn't help but marvel. The Martial Arts Academy recruits disciples into one small move per year and one big move every 5 years. Xiao Chen, as the person who accepted the task, knew the specific situation and introduced, this time as a recruitment assessment every 5 years. The scope is no longer limited to more than 10 counties around Lingwu County, but covers all the counties in Lingwu County area. This is the situation. No wonder I think the number of disciples recruited last time was so small. The task I accepted this time is to be responsible for the recruitment and assessment of disciples in Dongyuan County. We are going to take the number 5 Black Ark. Let's go up first. Good. The two of them jumped lightly and landed on the mysterious ark 10 feet high in the sky. At this time, there were already more than 10 people on Xuanzhou's plywood. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen were almost the last to arrive. When one of them saw Xiao Chen, his face turned cold and he turned his body to one side. Seeing this scene, Lu Yun turned his head and looked at Xiao Chen. What, do you know him? It's not like we know each other. I met him when I took the mission. His name is Li Sha. He's just a clown anyway. Oh, what's going on? Lu Yun suddenly became interested. The number of people required for the task of recruiting disciples for the assessment is limited, and I snatched this spot from him. I just don't know how he got the task again later. The two of them chatted with each other, not shying away from Li Yilin at all. Li Yilin snorted coldly. Ha, it's just a lucky move you won. Don't get carried away. If you and I were enemies, that one move would be enough to kill you. Xiao Chen said coldly, not taking the other party seriously at all. Li Yilin was furious, but couldn't refute. At the same time, the quarrel between the two attracted the attention of others. One of the older disciples came up and persuaded, you two, the matter is over, and everyone has received the mission, then let's put down the past matters completely, so as not to hurt the feelings between each other's brothers. Seeing this person, Li Yilin's eyes flashed with fear, and he said coldly, in that case, I will give brother Zhang some face. This person's surname is Zhang Zhihei. He has completed the 9 refining of true qi and is only one step away from the transformation realm. He is the strongest among them all. Zhang Zhihei walked up to Xiao Chen and said with a smile, Junior brother Xiao, what about you? I do not mind. Xiao Chen was as calm as ever. Haha, that's right. As disciples of the Martial Arts Academy, we should live in harmony so that we can support each other outside the Martial Arts Academy in the future. Then Zhang Zhihei's eyes fell on Lu Yun and he smiled. This junior brother looks unfamiliar. Could it be junior brother Lu Yunlu who was newly promoted to the Hall of Stars? Yes, senior brother has good taste. Lu Yun slightly clasped his fists. Okay, from now on, you and I, senior brothers, will support each other. With a polite word, Zhang Zhihei returned to his original position. After 2 more people boarded the Zan Ark, after about half a cup of tea, the Zan Ark started slowly. Boom! The 5 magnificent and huge Xuanzhou slowly rose into the air, broke through the clouds, and flew in different directions. On Xuanzhou number 5, standing on the deck, Lu Yun saw the scenery flying by his feet, and felt a lot in his heart. A year ago, he was a new disciple, taking a Xuanzhou from Yunshui County to Filing Martial Academy. Now, he is an examiner, taking a Xuanzhou to Dongyuan County, responsible for the recruitment and examination of new disciples. Only 1 year has passed. This is something he never thought of, and it is also something that others could not expect. Xiao Chen is the same as him. But Xiao Chen did not feel anything. He thought that if he completed this task well, he would get a lot of contribution points. If he was lucky and recruited a few 5-star or 6-star routes, he could exchange for a few sword techniques to learn after returning to the academy, and gradually improve his swordsmanship. Along the way, the Xuanzhou stopped 9 times in succession. The other disciples got off the boat halfway, leaving only Xiao Chen and Lu Yun on the deck. Their mission was the last battle. Of course, there were more than just the 2 of them on the Xuanzhou. Although the Xuanzhou was a mysterious weapon, it could not fly without someone controlling it. Lu Yun learned from others that the one controlling Xuanzhou number 5 was an elder in the Golden Body realm. As a large mysterious weapon, the Xuanzhou could not be controlled by ordinary warriors at all, and it required a large amount of spiritual crystals. Standing on the edge of the Xuanzhou deck, Lu Yun saw a vague city appear in his sight, his eyes full of shock. Even from a distance, he could feel the hugeness and majesty of the giant city. As the Xuanzhou approached, he could feel the magnificence and majesty of the giant city, as if it was a peerless beast standing on this land. Especially Lu Yun, who had reached the first level of the killing state, vaguely felt that the giant city had a heavy, vast, and terrifying killing aura. Is this the border city of Lingwu County, one of the long-term defense lines against monster invasions? Standing on the slowly docked Xuanzhou, Lu Yun sighed in his heart. Outside the city, the endless wilderness and mountains can be vaguely seen, full of violent and fierce atmosphere. It is rumored that Dongyuan County is the first county in Lingwu County. I thought it was just an exaggeration. Now it seems that Dongyuan County is not only the first county, but also the first city. Seeing such a peerless city standing on the land, even Xiao Chen, who has always been calm, was shocked at this time. It can be used as one of the defense lines against monster invasions. It can indeed be regarded as the first city in Lingwu County. And from this point of view, we may have a lot of gains on this trip. Lu Yun laughed. As an area in contact with monsters, the people here must be tough, and it is easy to have geniuses with good bones. In addition, only the Wu Academy here recruits disciples once every 5 years, and there are more geniuses accumulated over a long period of time. It's hard to say. Xiao Chen also understood Lu Yun's idea, but he didn't have high expectations, just hoped that the result would not be too bad. You two, are you here to help Dongyuan City resist the monsters? Suddenly, a general in armor and a team of soldiers appeared under the Xuanzhou. The general was wearing black armor, with a fierce momentum and a strong aura. He was at least 5 times refined true qi. He looked at Lu Yun and the two on the Xuanzhou with sharp eyes. Resist the invasion of monsters. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen were stunned at the same time, their faces full of confusion. At this time, another young general suddenly appeared. Bu Fan, you only know how to use brute force all day long, and you don't use your brain. Bu Fan, the fierce black-armored general before, saw the person coming and immediately clasped his fists. Hello, Captain. Okay, stand aside. At this time, Lu Yun and Xiao Chen had jumped to the ground, and the Xuanzhou disappeared into the void. After seeing Lu Yun and Xiao Chen up close, the captain was shocked for a moment, but he recovered quickly and greeted them with a smile. Are you two junior brothers from Filing Martial Arts Academy? I am Lu Yun, he is Xiao Chen, we are from Filing Martial Arts Academy, responsible for the 5-year recruitment assessment in Dongyuan County. Lu Yun explained the purpose of their visit. Haha, my name is Wang Yuhao, I am also from Filing Martial Arts Academy, I am your senior brother. Wang Yuhao smiled and said, Junior brothers Xiao and Lu are so young, but they can take on such an important task. I think their talent and strength are among the best in the Martial Arts Academy, which is shocking. Thanks to senior brother Wang for the praise, we too are unworthy. After Lu Yun said modestly, he changed the subject. But since we are both from Filing Martial Academy, I hope that senior brother Wang can help us in the next assessment. We will be grateful. Of course, after all, I am also a member of the Martial Academy, but the two junior brothers came at the wrong time. The monster beasts are about to attack the city, and Dongyuan City is in a state of panic. The assessment may need to wait for some time and can only be carried out after the crisis is resolved. Hearing this, Lu Yun and Xiao Chen frowned slightly at the same time. Lu Yun glanced at Bu Fan standing aside, and his eyes swept around. Teams of black-armored soldiers advanced in an orderly manner. The huge city in the distance was equipped with powerful heavy crossbows, and soldiers stood on the city walls, as if they were preparing for battle. Seeing these scenes, Lu Yun knew that the other party was not lying, and even now he could stand in front of him because of the friendship of Filing Martial Academy. Lu Yun said, Senior brother Wang, how long will this beast tide last? Wang Yuhao shook his head, we can't be sure. It depends on the size and level of the beast tide. What do you mean by this? A cold voice came from Xiao Chen's mouth. After taking a look at Xiao Chen, Wang Yuhao felt an extremely sharp aura from his body. He couldn't help but look highly at Xiao Chen again and explained. The beast tides are divided into 5 levels, namely low level, ordinary, terror, disaster and nightmare levels. The defense line of Dongyuan City is often attacked by low level and ordinary beast tides. In the worst case, there was even a horror level beast tide. Quote, Terror level beast tide. Lu Yun couldn't help but trembled. with a look of shock on his face. Terror level beast tide, isn't there a 7th level monster coming? The 7th level monster is definitely a terrifying level. As long as it appears, the city will be destroyed and people will be killed. Wang Yuhao nodded and said with lingering fear, it is true that a 7th level monster has arrived. If there are not several strong men in the Golden Body Realm and Alchemy Realm rushing to help, the defense line of Dongyuan Giant City will be completely lost. 7th level monster. Xiao Chen on the side whispered to himself, with murderous intent flashing in his eyes. At the same time, his right hand holding the sword couldn't help but tremble, and the sword vibrated wildly, as if it was about to be unsheathed at any time. Noticing Xiao Chen's strange behavior, Lu Yun murmured in his heart, it's enough to kill decisively. Do you still hate evil as much as you hate it? During the last mission, Xiao Chen showed no mercy to the people of the White Lotus sect. Even if they were very beautiful beauties, he would not blink an eye when he killed them. At that time, he thought Xiao Chen had a grudge against the cult. Looking at it now, it's not that simple. This guy not only hates cults, but also has strong killing intent towards monsters. Quickly gathering his mind, Lu Yun looked at Wang Yuhao and said, how long do primary beast tides and ordinary beast tides usually last? The primary beast tide will end in about 3 to 5 days, and the ordinary beast tide will take at least 10.5 days. Lu Yun nodded slightly. In this case, they would be delayed for at most half a month. Wang Yuhao said, well, I'm quite busy now. I'll let Colonel Bu Fanbu lead you to find a place to stay. I'll talk to you again when I have enough time. Lu Yun nodded happily, okay, senior brother Wang will be busy first. These two are the geniuses of Filing Martial Academy, please treat them well. Wang Yuhao turned his head and told Bu Fan, who was standing aside, and left in a hurry. I will obey the command of the captain. Immediately, Bu Fan led Lu Yun and Xiao Chen into the city. Along the way, Bu Fan was taciturn and had a cold face. He was a dignified school captain who should have been busy with the important task of defending the city, but now he was sent by the captain to lead the way for 2 young boys, and he felt quite unwilling to do so. But as a soldier, he did not dare to disobey his superior's orders. No matter how dissatisfied he felt in his heart, he had to obey them. After entering the city, the aura of fierce military strength became stronger. There were no vendors or other people to be seen on the streets. They were all soldiers in armor and school captains, etc. who kept shouting fiercely. On the way, Bu Fan said calmly, the restaurants and inns in the city are already crowded with people and refugees from other places. I can only have the 2 of you temporarily living in the military camp. We don't have so many requirements, just a roof over our heads. Now that the situation in Dongyuan City is serious, Lu Yun will naturally not make any unreasonable demands. Xiao Chen was not the kind of playboy from an aristocratic family, and he had no idea about where to live. He remained silent throughout the whole process, keeping his eyes on all directions at all times. Due to the arrival of the beast tide, the military camp was temporarily moved from outside the city to the city. Under the leadership of Bu Fan, they came to an open space in the west of the city, where the temporary military camp was located. The densely packed tents occupy an area of almost 10 miles in radius. From this, it can be seen that there are at least 100,000 troops stationed here. In the military camp, there was a huge square, in which there were phalanxes of soldiers, who were seizing the time to rehearse, and the sound of killing shouts shook the sky. Lu Yun glanced at them and saw that most of these soldiers were warriors who had entered the martial arts realm and above. During training, their eyes were sharp and they were surrounded by a faint evil aura. As for the few soldiers in the corner of the square, although they have not yet become warriors, their blood and chi are powerful and they are incomparably close to warriors. Following Lu Yun's gaze, Bu Fan said, those are all new soldiers. As long as they survive this beast wave, they can become elite soldiers who can equal 2 or 3. Lu Yun did not object, but sighed, well, they are all good talents, but their qualifications are a little bit worse. Recruits with slightly better qualifications will definitely not be allowed to go to the battlefield before they become warriors. Although these recruits lack qualifications, they all have a certain quality in them, that is, their energy and spirit are filled with fearlessness and fearlessness. In short, it means having the heart to die without hesitation. Not being afraid of battle and not being afraid of death are essential qualities to become an elite soldier. Unfortunately, even if they have the belief that they are not afraid of death, only 3 or 4 out of 10 of them will survive in the end. After all, the weakest monsters are equivalent to those who have entered the martial arts realm. With such a disparity, it is considered lucky to be able to survive 3 out of 10. These recruits all know this result, but they still made this choice resolutely. If the base and bones are low, then the battlefield can only be used as nourishment, and blood and fighting can be used to make up for it. As long as you survive, you will have the opportunity to break the limit, and the world will be wider from now on. When Lu Yun arrived at a tent camp, he saw many warriors who were not dressed as soldiers. Each of these warriors was powerful, and the weakest was at the Tongmei level. Some of them even made Lu Yun feel dangerous. Lu Yun asked, "Those warriors should not be in the army, right?" "Well, those are warriors who came from all sides to support. Their identities are different and very complicated. There are knights from Dongyuan County and warriors from other counties." Suddenly thinking of something, Bu Fan said, "By the way, 3 of them are like you, all disciples of the Martial Arts Academy, but they are not from Filing Martial Arts Academy, but from martial arts academies in other counties. They traveled here and happened to encounter the beast tide, so they came here." "Oh, there are disciples from other martial arts academies." Lu Yun immediately became interested. Each of the 36 counties in Lingzhou has its own martial arts academy. But so far, except for Filing Martial Arts Academy, Lu Yun doesn't know other martial arts academies. "I don't know how strong other martial arts academies are compared to Filing Martial Arts Academy." Lu Yun's eyes fell on the group of warriors in front of him. At the same time, when they saw Bu Fan leading Lu Yun and Xiao Chen over, the warriors also turned their eyes over. Being able to let Bu Fan, the captain, lead the way personally, no matter how strong Lu Yun and Xiao Chen are, they deserve everyone's attention. Bu Fan walked past the crowd and brought Lu Yun and Xiao Chen to a tent. There are not many tents in the military camp, so you two can only squeeze for a while. Lu Yun said, "No problem, if General Bu has something to do, you can go first." "Okay, if you two have something to do, tell the soldiers outside." After speaking, Bu Fan turned and left, his steps seemed hurried. He casually looked around the space inside the tent. There was nothing in the tent except 2 randomly built mats. It couldn't be simpler. Lu Yun couldn't help but laugh and said, "I'm afraid the 2 of us have the most rudimentary living conditions among all those responsible for the assessment of new disciples." "When did you care about these things?" Xiao Chen asked back, holding the light blue sword with one hand and stroking his chin with the other. After a moment of silence, he slowly said, "In such a big county, I don't believe that we can't find a guest room, but he let us. I'm afraid he has other intentions when he comes to the military camp." "What intentions can he have? He has no grudges against us, so he won't harm us, will he?" "He won't harm us, but he will definitely use us." Hearing this, Lu Yun's expression condensed, and his mind quickly recalled everything from getting off the Xuanzhou to here. A strange smile gradually appeared on his face, and he said with a smile, "Can I still refuse this kind of use?" "Of course I can't refuse." Putting aside the identity of martial arts academy disciples, as citizens of the Great Yuan, it is natural to help Dongyuan County resist the beast tide. Now, the 2 of them are martial arts academy disciples, and they represent Filing Martial Arts Academy. Helping to resist the beast tide is a kind of responsibility and a responsibility. If the 2 of them choose to stand by and watch, it will not only affect the next new disciple assessment, but also cause damage to the reputation of the Martial Arts Academy. "I have no choice but to kill the monster beast, but I don't like the feeling of being used by others." Xiao Chen's tone was calm and cold, and his eyes flashed with cold light. Lu Yun smiled and said, "Perhaps, the other party just finds it troublesome and gathers us here for easy care, which is not considered as exploitation." In fact, Lu Yun himself did not believe this. He and Xiao Chen are different from others. In addition to being disciples of the Martial Arts Academy, they are also examiners responsible for recruiting new disciples here on behalf of Filing Martial Arts Academy. With such status, even if there is no highest level reception, at least there is a regular reception, instead of being crowded in the tent of the military camp like other warriors. "Let's go." let's go out and see these warriors outside, and meet the 3 disciples from other martial arts academies by the way. Lu Yun suggested. I'm not interested in these, so I won't go. Xiao Chen shook his head and rejected Lu Yun's proposal, then walked to the mat, sat cross-legged, and began to practice. Seeing this, Lu Yun smiled bitterly, then lifted the curtain and left the tent. Seeing Lu Yun coming out, there were a lot of eyes gathered around, wanting to find out about Lu Yun's background, but they were bounced away by an invisible force so that they could not figure out the details at all. Because of this, the warriors were even more curious about Lu Yun. I am Liang Xiaowen from Kangwu Martial Academy. May I ask which martial academy or family this brother is from? To be able to cultivate such a person like you, it must be extraordinary. One of the young men with a tall body and a silver spear came over and asked with a smile. Kangwu Martial Academy. Liang Xiaowen. Lu Yun's eyes condensed. He just sensed several dangerous auras. And the young man in front of him was one of the masters of those dangerous auras. The fact that he could feel the danger now showed that the other party was at least at the limit of the true Qi realm. Lu Yun smiled slightly. Filing Martial Academy, Lu Yun. Haha, it turned out to be Brother Lu. Liang Xiaowen said indirectly. Brother Lu is so young, but his true Qi has been refined to such a level. I'm afraid he is a 6-star genius of Filing Martial Academy. He faintly sensed a dangerous aura from Lu Yun, so he thought that Lu Yun had at least refined his true Qi 7 or 8 times. Lu Yun did not explain this, he was not here to feel superior. His purpose was simple, to test the waters and understand the strength of the younger generation in the counties of Lingzhou. Of course, as long as it did not involve his own strength and background, Lu Yun could talk freely. Brother Lu, I'm so arrogant at Baiyun Martial Arts Academy. A burly young man with shining eyes walked over with a big knife on his back. Lu Yun responded with cupped fists. Haha, I'm Lu Wuan from the Qingshan Martial Academy, and I've met 3 of them. Lu Wuan was dressed in white, with a long sword at his waist and a folding fan in his hand. He looked like a handsome young man. The 4 of them stood together, surrounded by a group of warriors, and felt like they stood out from the crowd. The 4 of us come from different martial arts schools. It can be considered a kind of fate. How about we learn from each other and make friends through martial arts? Zhang Kuang suddenly suggested. Lu Wuan closed his folding fan and said with a graceful manner, Brother Zhang is right. The 4 of us are able to get together. It is a good fate. However, it is not elegant to make friends with martial arts. We might as well make friends with literature. Hearing this, Lu Yun and Liang Xiaowen were both stunned at the same time. These 2 people are too ambitious. What time is it now? The beast tide is coming soon, and everyone is busy preparing to fight, but they still think about using force to make friends. Finally, Lu Yun suggested, we might as well find a place to communicate and share our cultivation experiences. Lu Yun's proposal was immediately agreed by Liang Xiaowen. Well, Brother Lu's proposal is good. We all have qi that has been refined at least 7 or 8 times. We are not far away from breaking through the Huayuan realm. It will be of great benefit to communicate with each other. Quote. Lu Wuan and Zhang Kuang also readily agreed. The reason why they came out to practice was to seek the opportunity to complete the 9th or even 10th refinement. Of course, they would not let go of such an excellent opportunity. They came to a tent, where Lu Wuan, Zhang Kuang, and Liang Xiaowen rested. The 4 of them sat in a corner. Then let me start the conversation first. Liang Xiaowen glanced at Lu Yun and the others and spoke first. I have now completed the 9 refinings of true qi. I don't have any expectations for the legendary 10 refinings. However, when I am about to break through to the transformation realm, I want to take a peek at the artistic conception of martial arts. Liang Xiaowen explained one by one his doubts and difficulties in understanding the artistic conception of martial arts. It's a pity that among the few people, except Lu Yun, they didn't understand the artistic conception and couldn't provide help at all. They could only provide some ideas for Liang Xiaowen based on their own understanding. To understand the artistic conception of martial arts, in addition to combining martial arts or talent, you also need strong mental power. I think Brother Liang can focus on improving mental power. Lu Yun has a relatively deep understanding of the artistic conception of martial arts. In addition to the panel, part of the reason is that he spent several months in the library. Lu Wuan and Zhang Kuang mainly asked questions about how to complete the 9 refining of true qi. Liang Xiaowen is more experienced in this regard. After a little bit of advice, both Lu Wuan and Zhang Kuang gained something. Of course, there is no way of knowing whether Liang Xiaowen had any plans. When it was Lu Yun's turn, he didn't ask any confusion or questions about martial arts, and he didn't need to. Whether it is the refinement of gangqi or the improvement of artistic conception, Lu Yun can be said to have gone the furthest among the 4. So, he changed the topic to the martial arts academy and the situation of its disciples. This is also his true purpose. In this regard, everyone spoke freely. The Kangwu Martial Academy where Liang Xiaowen is located has nearly 1,000 Yuan realm disciples, nearly 100 Yuani realm disciples, and even monster disciples at the Golden Body realm. After hearing what Liang Xiaowen said, Lu Yun was shocked and said, "There are actually disciples of the Golden Body realm in the Martial Arts Academy." Liang Xiaowen nodded and explained. The martial arts academies in all counties in Lingzhou are all similar, with at least 1 or 2 Golden Body realm disciples. As for Qingzhou, Wuzhou, and Zhongzhou, there are more Golden Body realm disciples in the martial arts academies. Quote. Lu Yun nodded slightly. The martial arts academies in all counties in Lingzhou were so powerful. It was natural that the martial arts academies in Qingzhou, Wuzhou, Zhongzhou and other places would have more Golden Body realm disciples. Qingzhou, Wuzhou, and Zhongzhou are the original Kyushu. Martial arts have a long history, and their population base far exceeds that of Lingzhou. Lu Yun suppressed the turmoil in his heart and asked, "Have those Yuani realm disciples and Golden Body realm disciples been practicing in the martial arts academy?" Of course not. Lu Wuan took over the words and said, "Most of the disciples in the Yuan liquid realm and the monster disciples in the Golden Body realm are not in the martial arts academy. They are either serving in the Tianxian division and other court agencies, or they are rushing to the front lines to fight with monsters and beasts for the greater good." The Yuan dynasty opened up territory and expanded its territory. Brother Lu is a bit conservative in what he said. Very few disciples of the Yuan liquid realm will stay in the martial arts academy. Some of the disciples even start to go out to practice after entering the Yuan realm, or go to the front camp to fight with monsters. Hundreds of years ago, Lingzhou was a barbaric land, a paradise for monsters and monsters. Now Lingwu County alone has a population of tens of millions. Such results were achieved not only because of the large army clearing the way, but also because of the countless martial arts disciples who continued to join in. Nowadays, most of the powerful people in the military department are martial arts disciples. Quote. The 4 of them chatted until late at night. When Lu Yun felt that it was almost time, he said goodbye and left. After returning, seeing that Xiao Chen was still practicing, Lu Yun did not disturb him and found a seat to sit down, but in his mind he was recalling the information he had previously received from Lu Wuan and others. Although Dayuan had internal troubles such as sectarian forces, it still did not stop its overseas conquests. Endless mountains, hundreds of thousands of mountains, vast wilderness, these are the goals of Dayuan's conquest. Roar. Suddenly, huge roars sounded, like thunder exploding in the sky, making people's eardrums hurt. Boom. Then the ground began to shake violently, the whole military camp, and even the whole Dongyuan city were shaking, and soon they were enveloped by a fierce and violent atmosphere. The beast tide is coming. Lu Yun stood up suddenly, his eyes shining, and he felt his blood trembling at this moment. The only petal on the blood-colored lotus in his mind was also trembling, as if it was craving for something. Fighting, killing, blood. It seemed to be all, but it seemed to be none. He stretched out his hand and took a shot, and the white-scaled purple gold flew into his hand. He looked back at Xiao Chen and chuckled. The battle is about to begin, are you ready? Xiao Chen's starry eyes suddenly opened, as if there was a sword energy bursting out of his eyes, and the brilliance was compelling. He picked up the light blue sword, his eyes moved, and said lightly, "In this battle, the rainbow will be stained with blood." The sword was not unsheathed, and the sword energy rushed into the sky. Seeing this scene, Lu Yun's eyes condensed, and he couldn't help but tighten the white-scaled purple gold knife in his hand. Chi. The white-scaled purple gold sword was trembling. No, it should be excitement. Let's go. The two walked out of the tent. Whoosh. Whoosh. Liang Xiaowen, who was standing tall and holding a silver spear, Lu Wuan, who was wearing a sword and holding a long fan, Zhang Kuang, who was carrying a long sword on his shoulder, and the warriors also walked out of their respective tents and nodded to each other solemnly. For most people, this might be the first time to face the beast tide, and they were inevitably panicked. On the contrary, after the soldiers in the barracks rushed out of the tent, the formation instantly became neat and orderly. The beast tide has arrived under Dongyuan City. All the soldiers, all the people of the Great Yuan, follow me to fight. A grand and loud voice, as if resounding from the sky, echoed throughout the huge city of Dongyuan. Lu Yun and others looked in the direction of the sound, and suddenly saw a figure in green armor standing in the air. In the dark night sky, he was like a blazing sun, shining brightly and powerful, and the terrifying and powerful aura could be felt from afar. A strong man in the golden body realm. Seeing this majestic voice, many warriors exclaimed at the same time. Breaking through the mud body, the golden body is invincible, and the physical body is as strong as the sun, which is the golden body realm. Only one strong man in the golden body realm has come, which means this is an ordinary beast tide. Liang Xiaowen's eyes flickered, and he looked like he was moved. What are you waiting for? Let's go and kill the monster. Zhang Kuang shouted loudly, picked up the big knife, followed the army, and went to the city wall. Okay, let's kill the monster together. Lu Wuan folded his fan and rushed up with high spirits. Other warriors also showed their weapons and rushed forward aggressively. Looking at the heroic and murderous appearance of everyone, Lu Yun's heart flashed with inexplicable emotions. This is because they share the same hatred and regard the monsters as enemies, so that they can be so united. Although Dongyuan City was shrouded in a fierce and violent atmosphere, there was no panic at all, only order. Being able to do this can only mean that Dongyuan City has experienced beast tides again and again, and has persisted in beast tides again and again. Soon, Lu Yun and other warriors followed a team of soldiers to the city wall. On the city wall, powerful heavy crossbows had already been built. Each heavy crossbow was specially responsible for 20 soldiers. There were almost more than 200 heavy crossbows built on the entire city wall. Seeing the heavy crossbows with a sense of power, many warriors couldn't help but take a breath. Even Lu Yun, with his current strength, could feel a hint of danger. Is this a god-breaking crossbow? Lu Yun said hesitantly. The god-breaking crossbow can fire 5 arrows at a time. Even a warrior in the Yuanhua realm can't withstand a blow, which shows how terrifying its power is. Outside the city, there were 50,000 troops on each wing, ready to attack as soon as the monsters approached. Moving forward, I saw a vast black shadow in the distance, with smoke and dust rolling behind it, sweeping across the world. As time passed, the rumbling sound became more and more terrifying, and the magnificent and solid city walls began to tremble. Hiss! When everyone saw the monsters surging in the distance, they couldn't help but take a breath. I saw countless monsters sweeping in from more than 10 miles away, and the powerful demonic aura gradually spread. What shocked Lu Yun and others was that there were many monsters that could fly in the monster army. Each of them exuded a monstrous demonic aura. From more than 10 miles away, the fierce and violent aura swept over. There are at least hundreds of thousands of monsters. Lu Yun said hesitantly. Seeing so many monsters, he couldn't suppress the shock in his heart. This is just an ordinary beast tide, and it is so terrifying. What a powerful beast tide of advanced horror, disaster, and even nightmare levels. Thinking of this, Lu Yun could not help but feel a strong admiration for the first generation of Yuanwang. 800 years ago, he single-handedly united the forces of all parties, swept the monsters of Jojo, and constantly drove the monsters to the 10,000 mountains and the endless wilderness. What a great power that was! Boom! The powerful man in the golden body realm in the void emitted a terrifying momentum, walked in the air, and stood quietly above the city wall. He stretched out his hand and a silver bow appeared in his hand. With both arms exerting force, the bow was like a full moon. With a swoosh, an arrow condensed by the true essence shot out, cutting through the darkness and shaking the sky. This arrow was shot, but none of the soldiers, warriors, or monsters reacted. Only a mournful sound was heard, and one of the flying demon beasts was shot dead on the spot, its blood flowed, and its huge body fell from the sky. Army attack! The strong man in the golden body realm in the void gave a cold shout, and the army that had already been displayed on the left and right wings of the city launched a charge. Kill. The cry of killing shook the surrounding areas, resounded through the sky, and almost tore the night apart. Fire the arrow. The captain in charge of the god-breaking crossbow on the city wall issued an order at the same time. Whoosh! More than 200 god-breaking crossbows were fired at the same time, and the pillar-like arrows flew out, instantly crossing the city wall, passing over the heads of the army, and falling into the army of monsters like a heavy rain. In an instant, the bodies of countless monster beasts were pierced, and blood spattered out, which was so tragic. However, for the huge beast tide, this is not a problem at all. On the contrary, the blood of the companions stimulated the ferocious aura of the monsters even more, and all of them turned into a huge torrent with ferocious faces, charging towards the huge city of Dongyuan. At the same time, the armies on the left and right wings rushed in together, like torrents in the valley colliding together, causing shocking waves in an instant. Looking at this scene from a distance, feeling the battlefield full of murderous atmosphere, Lu Yun's eyes flashed with red light, and at the same time, murderous aura continued to permeate his body, shocking the people around him to focus their attention. Junior brother Lu, your murderous aura is so terrifying that even those who have gone through dozens of large and small battles may not be able to defeat you. At this time, Wang Yuhao came over with a group of soldiers. Coming with him was the fierce and powerful Bu Fan, who felt the murderous aura emanating from Lu Yun's body, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Captain Wang, if we don't kill him right now, how long will we wait? Zhang Kuang muttered to the side. Wang Yuhao shook his head and explained, we are the last line of defense, responsible for killing the monsters that rush out. What we have to do now is to recharge our batteries and wait for the opportunity. Hearing this, Zhang Kuang had to calm down and put back the unsheathed sword. Then, Wang Yuhao looked at the crowd again and said loudly, everyone, there are hundreds of thousands of people behind us. Most of them are powerless. If you are not careful and let one or two monsters rush into them, you will be defeated. It's a huge disaster. In order to prevent disasters from happening and people's lives and property from being lost, we will be on standby, be cautious, and be sure to kill all the monsters under the city wall. Quote. Hearing this, all the warriors nodded solemnly, and then turned their eyes to the battlefield where the fierce collision was taking place. Lu Yun was very excited and couldn't wait to rush into the army of monsters and kill everyone. But reason told him that if he did that, he would die. And it was an ugly death. These monster beasts are completely incomparable to the monster beasts in the Wuyuan Vientiane Tower. Both in terms of quantity and strength. There are hundreds of thousands of monsters, and they are so terrifying that not even those in the Golden Body or Talisman realm dare to face them alone. Moreover, among the monsters of this huge scale, there are many 4th and 5th order monsters, and even one of them is not something he can contend with. Forcibly suppressing the murderous intention in his heart, Lu Yun turned his gaze to the distant battlefield. Areas within 10 miles can be seen relatively clearly with his eyesight. The blood was spilled and the pitted battlefield was littered with corpses. There are huge remains of monster beasts and the remains of Daewon soldiers, all of which are lying on the ground in broken pieces. A faint blood-red aura slowly floated up, blown by the breeze, and soon enveloped an area of dozens of miles in radius. Even the entire Dongyuan city was enveloped in this blood-red aura. Lu Yun's eyes fell on the center of the battlefield, where a broken corpse lay. This is a human corpse. Even though the body is dead and the armor is in pieces, the aura emanating from the body still carries a terrifying pressure. It was obvious that this was a powerful warrior, at least in the Yuan liquid realm. Unfortunately, he still died in the battle. Lu Yun saw clearly that such a powerful warrior fell completely after just one encounter. Standing in front of the corpse was a monster. It was a monster with a bull's head and human body, black pupils, a huge body, and the aura it exuded was powerful and terrifying, like a storm. The surrounding Daewon soldiers were paralyzed and fell to the ground under the pressure of its terrifying aura. Anyone who knows something about monsters knows that once a monster reaches the 6th level, it will begin to transform just like a strong human golden body breaking through the clay body to create an invincible golden body. However, because of their monster bodies, they cannot completely transform and only use part of their human form. This monster with the head of an ox and the human body is a 6th order monster. With just one collision, a strong human being in the Yuan liquid realm fell. Horrible. Lu Yun's whole body was trembling, and at the same time, the light of the white-scaled purple-gold sword was also shaking. "What's wrong with you?" Xiao Chen noticed Lu Yun's behavior and patted him on the shoulder, a trace of doubt flashing in his eyes. He didn't have as good eyesight as Lu Yun, and since he was looking at the black-eyed monster cow, he didn't know what was going on. "Demon cow, suffer death." An angry roar sounded from the sky, and in an instant, the strong man in the golden body state who had been standing quietly in the void burst out with a terrifying aura. He held a golden spear in his hand, walked through the air, and killed the black-eyed monster cow. This scene instantly attracted everyone's attention. What happened to make this golden body realm expert so furious? Everyone looked puzzled. The 6th level monster is too terrifying. With just one move, the Yuani realm warrior who was killing people instantly fell. Lu Yun said softly. Hearing this, Xiao Chen's eyes focused and followed Lu Yun's gaze. In the sky, the golden body realm expert stabbed out with a gun. The gun was like a stream of light, as loud as thunder, and extremely fast. Before the gun light arrived, the strong pressure had already cracked the earth, and many low-level monsters knelt directly, and their bodies collapsed. Haha, a human golden body realm expert. The black-eyed demon bull soared into the sky, leaving a huge hole in the original place, and the fist like a giant hammer met the gun light that fell from the sky. The collision between the 6th level monster and the strong man in the golden body realm caused a terrifying fluctuation. The chaotic and violent aura swept all around, shocking all the monsters and the Yuan soldiers to flee in all directions. Boom! Finally, the demon-eyed demon bull was crushed, and its huge body fell, smashing a huge deep pit on the ground. Those monsters and soldiers who had not had time to escape were all blown away. Evil beast, die! The strong man in the golden body realm took advantage of the attack and took advantage of the situation to pursue. A little cold light came first, and then the gun came out like a dragon, and the boundless gun shadows poured down like a torrential rain. The monsters in the area of more than 10 feet in radius were shot into hedgehogs by this terrifying gun rain, and their bodies were separated. Roar! A terrifying sound rang out, and a demon bull more than 10 feet in size rushed out of the huge deep pit. The dense gun shadows fell on its body, emitting sizzling sparks, but did not cause any damage to it. The spear light faded away, and the true appearance of the demon bull appeared in everyone's eyes. It had 2 horns on its head, its pupils were dark and bright, and its body was covered with black scales, like a black battle armor. The strong demon aura was like a dark cloud that filled its body. Looking at it from a distance, it made people feel desperate that they could not defeat or resist it. The demon body, which was more than 10 feet long, soared into the sky and pounced on the golden body warrior. Get out of here! With a roar, golden light burst out all over the sky, and the silver spear that emitted endless spear light turned from stabbing to chopping. With the blessing of the true essence, it fell down like a pillar supporting the sky, and fell directly on the head of the black-eyed demon bull. Even though the demon beast was strong, it was still chopped off one of its horns by this spear. Awoo! The black-eyed demon bull became even more angry, and fire almost came out of its black pupils. It stepped on the iron hoof like a pillar, and its huge body pounced again. With the previous experience, the black-eyed demon bull no longer dared to underestimate the opponent, and was not blown away again. However, the strength of this golden body realm warrior was far stronger than that of the warriors of the same level, crushing the 6th level black-eyed demon bull. One by one, they fought madly, and soon they cleared a huge battlefield. No demon beasts and Yuan soldiers dared to approach. There was only one result if they approached. They were crushed to death by the powerful demonic energy and true essence. Follow me, kill these Yuan soldiers, and trample this city. A demon ape demon beast that was also more than 10 feet long spoke human language. Being able to speak human language, it was undoubtedly a 5th level demon beast. Under the leadership of this 5th level demon ape, countless demon beasts rushed up behind him. Awoo! A one-horned wild boar that was nearly 5 feet tall and 10 feet long knocked away more than a dozen Yuan soldiers and roared to the sky. Little ones, follow me, old pig, charge, trample the human city, and drink all the human blood. Awoo! Behind it, nearly 10,000 one-horned wild boars rushed out with sharp horns and fierce fangs, charging madly. In this group of beasts, there are not only these 5th level monsters. There are also flaming lions that can spit fire, golden rats that burrow into the ground, green-scaled giant eagles that fly into the sky, etc. There are even more fourth-level monsters, at least hundreds of them. A general in black armor slashed out a sword light of more than 10 feet with one knife, and dozens of monsters died immediately without dodge. Be sure to stop all the monsters for me. In the Yuan army system, those who lead 10 people are called Yahweh, those who lead 100 people are called Xiaowei, those who lead 1,000 people are called Duwei, and those who lead 10,000 people are called lieutenants. This black-armored general is the lieutenant of 10,000 people, Shu Wusheng. He has a cold face, leading the troops and fighting among the monsters. He attacked swiftly and fiercely, and the third and fourth level monsters kept falling at his feet. Kill. In another direction, a lieutenant in armor was killing people everywhere. Each lieutenant was at least a strong man in the Yuan realm, and it was effortless to kill the third and fourth level monsters. However, he was soon entangled by a fifth level monster. The same scene happened in every corner of the battlefield. The army of monsters was originally more than the soldiers of the Yuan dynasty. Not long after, some monsters broke through the defense line and killed towards the giant city of Dongyuan. Finally here, looking at the group of monsters that were attacked by the sky-high demonic energy, Lu Yun's eyes flashed. Boom! Not far away, the earth shook. Countless demonic beasts broke through the interception of the army and roared towards the huge city of Dongyuan. The demonic aura in the sky was like black clouds, oppressing them and casting a dark cloud over the hearts of the people who were waiting on the city wall. Prepare the god-breaking crossbow. The captain gave an order, and the god-breaking crossbow, which had already been loaded with arrows, fired out. Thousands of thick crossbow arrows with terrifying power shot out. The group of monsters charging at the front were directly pierced by crossbow arrows, and a large number of monsters charging behind them also fell down. Li! A huge roar sounded, and a huge green-scaled eagle suddenly appeared in everyone's eyes. The wings were spread out, and the huge monster body was like a hill, flying towards the city wall with a terrifying strong wind. Come for me! The god-breaking crossbows shot out in unison, and the thick and powerful crossbow arrows fell on him, bursting out with sizzling sparks but not causing any harm to him. The only result achieved was to slightly slow down the opponent. Although it didn't cause any harm, it caused severe pain. The blue-scaled giant eagle roared angrily, spread its wings, and its wings flew out, turning into sharp arrows that flew towards the people on the city wall. Danger! Lu Yun, Xiao Chen and others instantly stood on their heads, feeling the terrifying crisis from the rapidly flying wings, and they all used their true energy to deal with the coming crisis. Your opponent is me. At some point, a man in black armor will fly out of the city wall. He is strong and powerful, holding a spear in one hand and a shield in the other. When the blue-scaled giant eagle's attack was about to fall, the shield, infused with true energy, emitted a dazzling light, forming a huge light curtain that continued to expand. The wings with great power clicked onto this light curtain. The attack that made Lu Yun and others feel a huge crisis was easily resolved with the sword. Immediately, the black-armored man put away his shield, held a spear, and killed the giant blue-scaled eagle in the sky. All officers and men, follow me to slay the demon. Another black-armored general jumped out, with powerful real energy fluctuations all over his body. He jumped out from the city wall and slashed out with a sword. The vast sword energy was like a sea, and monsters fell in pieces. Slay the demon. The city gate opened, and the army that had been waiting in the inner city rushed out. The shouts of killing rose to the sky and shook the city. Brother Lu, let's kill the monsters together and see who can kill the most. Zhang Kuang laughed loudly, jumped off the city wall, and drew his sword to kill the monsters. Lu Yun did not speak, but just glanced at Xiao Chen beside him, and found that the other person now seemed like a sharp sword about to be unsheathed, and the sharp edge exuded made people dare not look directly at him. We also compete, Xiao Chen said lightly, then leapt out. At the same time, the rainbow sword was instantly unsheathed, and an astonishing sword light burst out, like thunder, and instantly penetrated the head of a third-level monster. The first one, Xiao Chen shouted loudly, his figure flickered, leaving an afterimage on the spot. When he reappeared, the rainbow sword penetrated the heart of a monster beast again. Such a fast sword, such terrifying penetrating power, and such terrifying strength. This guy must have understood the meaning of the sword. An idea suddenly appeared in Lu Yun's mind. Others didn't know Xiao Chen, but Lu Yun knew Xiao Chen's details relatively well. The current Xiao Chen has refined his true energy 3 or 4 times at most, but the strength he has shown is no less than those warriors at the extreme end of the true energy realm. To be able to have such strength, he could only have such a powerful increase unless he understood the meaning of the sword. The third head. While Lu Yun was hesitating, Xiao Chen's voice came from the distance again. Haha, interesting. Lu Yun smiled lightly and quickly rushed down the city to kill the charging monsters. He didn't want to pay attention to the arrogant proposal, and he wasn't very interested. But as for Xiao Chen, that's a different story. He also wanted to see how far his partner's swordsmanship had reached. With the Gale Lightning Step, Lu Yun used his body skills as soon as he came up, surpassing the army in an instant and rushing into the charging monster army. The white-scaled purple-gold sword was unsheathed, and a breathtaking aura burst out. At the same time, pure yang qi condensed in the dantian surged like the sun, converging crazily on the blade. In an instant, the sword energy grew on the white-scaled purple-gold sword, and the dazzling sword light gradually bloomed. Kill them all. The powerful sword light slashed forward. Boom. The powerful sword was like a huge wave, rushing through the army of monsters without any resistance. Monster beasts were cut directly by the terrifying sword light. The head, 4 legs, neck, abdomen, eyes and other parts were cut crosswise. It looked like the body was broken, with blood and flesh flying everywhere. With one strike, at least 20 or 30 monster beasts were killed. Among them, 2 or 3rd level monsters. Hiss, so strong. Seeing this scene, many knight-errant warriors and soldiers were shocked. The strength and power displayed by Lu Yun was terrifying, and he could achieve such results with just one sword. Lu Yun, is this your true strength? No wonder you can make me feel in danger. Liang Xiaowen whispered, and then rushed forward with his strong body, sweeping the spear, and the vast infuriating energy and spear light burst out. Many monsters were blown away, and one of the 3rd level monsters was killed on the spot. You all use your trump cards, so I can't hide them anymore. Lu Wuan threw the folding fan casually, and the bodies of 7 or 8 monsters were directly pierced. Then he drew the sword from his waist, and immediately a vast sword energy burst out. The sword energy was sharp and the sword edge was sharp, as if a sword could sweep away a group of beasts. As expected of the top geniuses from the Martial Arts Academy, they are so young, but they can have such strength. I am afraid that they are not much different from the warriors in the Yuanhua realm. Some captains glanced at Lu Yun and others who suddenly burst out, and secretly admired them in their hearts. Most of the captains started from the ranks, and the Yuanhua realm might be their end point. If it were not for the killing on the battlefield, they would not have reached this level. They envied and admired the geniuses of the Martial Arts Academy. With a slash, Lu Yun used the Great Wind and Lightning Step to move away. The purpose of doing this is very simple, to avoid being targeted by powerful monsters. Like him, if he crushes the monsters with a strong force, there will definitely be 4th and 5th level monsters discovering. The stronger the monster is, the higher its wisdom is. A 5th level monster is no less intelligent than a human warrior, and can even command and lead other monsters. Lu Yun, who knows this well, will naturally not make such a low-level mistake. Lu Yun, who changed his position again, slashed out with a knife, and the hot knife light was like an infinite sea, sweeping a 3rd level late-stage monster. In an instant, this 3rd level late-stage monster was cut in half, and turned into 2 broken bodies falling. Is it so strong? Zhang Kuang, who was not far from this position, saw this scene, and his eyes were full of shock. This 3rd level late-stage monster, with his strength, would take at least a dozen moves to kill. Unexpectedly, it couldn't even withstand Lu Yun's knife. I just competed with him to see who killed more. Thinking of this, Zhang Kuang felt ashamed. If he knew that Lu Yun had only completed the 3rd refining of Gangqi, he would probably feel even more ashamed, and might even dig a hole on the spot to bury his face in it. He really couldn't afford to lose face. Lu Yun noticed Zhang Kuang, but just nodded, and then slashed out with a knife. Killing all around. This is the 2nd move of the 7 killing sword technique. The superb slashing knife not only has a powerful blade light, but also a terrifying murderous aura. The area within a radius of more than 10 feet was shrouded in this terrifying murderous aura, and then, the boundless sword energy swept across. A roar. A series of tragic roars resounded. After a knife, Lu Yun immediately performed the fierce wind lightning step and disappeared on the spot. Looking at the fallen monsters in groups, all the Yuan soldiers were shocked. That knife, so terrifying, can it really be slashed by the Qi realm? Zhang Kuang was even more stunned, and his shame in his heart became even greater. Ah! With a roar, Zhang Kuang went completely crazy, waving his sword and killing a third-level monster. It was obvious that he was stimulated by Lu Yun's sword again. With one sword, a third-level initial monster was killed on the spot. At the same time, the surrounding low-level monsters were not spared. A fourth-level monster found the tragic situation here and pounced on it immediately. The wind wolf ran at full speed, as fast as the wind, with a body like steel, and terrifying defense. In addition, it also had sharp fangs and claws, and terrifying attacks. There were several soldiers who entered the martial realm who did not react and were torn to pieces by it in an instant. Immediately, his eyes stared at the monsters that fell to the ground, and then looked at Zhang Kuang who was killing crazily. His eyes flickered. With a whoosh, a charge came to Zhang Kuang, and powerful and sharp claws attacked Zhang Kuang. After Zhang Kuang reacted, his soul was suddenly flying. How did he get targeted by a fourth-level monster? Without time to think, he immediately mobilized his true energy to offer a layer of defense around his body, and at the same time, he held the long sword tightly with both hands and blocked it horizontally in front. Clang! Facing the fourth-level monster, Zhang Kuang was indeed defeated. He was blown away with a puff, leaving a long mark on the ground. Escape! Without the slightest hesitation, Zhang Kuang did not even dare to check his own injuries and fled in a hurry. Although he was strong, he could fight against ordinary Yuan transforming warriors. But he could only fight, not to mention this fourth-level swift wind demon wolf, which was much stronger than the Yuan transforming realm. In the process of fleeing, he found that the swift wind demon wolf had been chasing him, and it looked like it would not stop until he killed it. Why did it target me? It doesn't make sense. Zhang Kuang was very depressed. Could it be? As if he had thought of something, Zhang Kuang's face was embarrassed, and he had something to complain about in his heart. At this time, he already understood why he was targeted. Previously, Lu Yun used the second move of the 7-killing sword technique to kill people everywhere. Nearly 100 monsters were killed, including several monsters in the middle and late stages of the third level, which immediately made the swift wind demon wolf find something wrong. When he rushed over, he just found corpses everywhere, and Zhang Kuang was attacking wantonly. In this way, Zhang Kuang became Lu Yun's scapegoat and was completely targeted by the swift wind demon wolf. After sorting out the ins and outs of the matter, Zhang Kuang felt like crying but had no tears. What the hell is going on? With a roar in his heart, Zhang Kuang sped up and fled for his life. As expected of a disciple of the martial academy, he had many ways to save his life, and for a while, he didn't let the swift wind demon wolf, who was good at speed, catch up. On the other side, Lu Yun found that as he killed more monsters, the breath of the blood-colored lotus platform in his sea of consciousness became stronger, and it seemed that something was about to brew. After discovering this, Lu Yun used part of his mind to check the panel. After seeing the progress of the killing state on the panel, he was shocked. The progress of the killing state was raised to 11% of the first level. It was a full progress, equivalent to the increase of 50 energy. Kill. Is this the way to improve the killing state? The scarlet in Lu Yun's eyes became more intense, and the murderous aura emanating from his body became more intense. Kill. The blade light soared into the sky, and Lu Yun slashed out with a knife. With a puff, the white-scaled purple-gold knife cut off the head of a third-level demon wolf. Under the effect of the knife aura, there was no blood on the blade. Kill to stop killing, kill to support fighting, and become stronger with more fighting. Lu Yun, who understood the true meaning of the killing state, made his moves faster, and more demon beasts died under his knife. Kill. Whether it was a second-level demon beast or a third-level demon beast, Lu Yun would draw his knife when he saw it. 1, 2, 3. Gradually, Lu Yun forgot how many times he had struck and how many monsters he had killed. He always paid attention to the panel with a trace of his mind. Seeing the killing state slowly improving, Lu Yun was excited. Killing state improved to 12% of the first level. Killing state improved to 13% of the first level. Killing state improved to 15% of the first level. When the night dissipated and dawn came again, the killing state was surprisingly improved to 15% of the first level. At the same time, the monsters under the foot of the Dongyuan giant city became fewer and fewer. The human side was also very tragic. There were many corpses of soldiers lying on the ground, tightly attached to the remains of those monsters. Even many soldiers' corpses were tightly attached to the remains of monsters. If you look closely, you will find that the soldiers' weapons penetrated the hearts of monsters, and the claws of monsters pierced the abdomens of those soldiers. On the other side, 3 soldiers were covered with wounds, but they still did not fall down, and they fought against a monster together. That was a second-level monster, and only the veterans and Yahweh in Tongmei realm could deal with it. Without any surprise, with several charges of the second-level monster, the soldiers who were already wounded all fell down. Seeing such a tragic scene, Lu Yun frowned slightly, and the white-scaled purple-gold knife swung, and the knife energy burst out, and the monsters surrounding them were no longer intact. With amazing consciousness and supervision, Lu Yun cast his eyes to the distant sky. There, a man and a beast were fighting madly. The monster was still the 6th-level black-eyed monster bull, and it was obviously not the opponent of the strong man in the golden body realm, and was beaten all over. However, judging from its still lively state, there was no fatal injury. The terrifying monster energy emanating from its body was like a dark cloud, and its 4 feet were like stone pillars. Every time it stepped on, it would produce a roaring sound. Every collision between the 2 sides, the residual power generated, even if it was several miles away, could feel the great threat. Is this the true strength of the Golden Body Realm warrior and the 6th-level monster? Lu Yun's scarlet eyes flashed with a strange light. Human, I will fight you again after I have rested. After feeling that both sides had almost killed each other, the black-eyed demon bull withdrew. At the same time, countless monsters retreated like a tide. The strong man in the Golden Body Realm did not chase him, and the army did not chase him either. Cry. The green-scaled giant eagle flapped its wings and flew away. Other monsters were not so lucky. The main force of the monster army retreated, and there was no power to stop it. The vanguard troops of these monsters that broke through the army's defense line and came under the city wall were different. Now they are attacked from both sides, so they naturally cannot be allowed to withdraw. Kill the monster. Revenge. The army came from front and back. Not long after, there was no monster that could stand. Looking around, outside the city wall, the place was devastated, corpses were everywhere, and blood was flowing like a stream that never stopped. The wounded soldiers supported each other and walked slowly into the city. Some of them had broken legs, some had broken arms, and they were missing 1 or 2 parts, but there was no despair in their eyes. Some only had hope and joy for repelling the beast tide. In the beast tide, being able to survive was lucky. Most of the bodies of those who did not survive were incomplete, and some even had no bodies, becoming food in the stomachs of monsters. Repelling the beast tide and surviving it again was the greatest joy for them. Lu Yun watched all this in silence. All this in front of him, Lu Yun had seen more than once in his memory, and there were even more tragic ones than this. However, memories are always memories, and the shock they bring is far less intense than experiencing it in person. Cough, cough. Suddenly, a violent cough interrupted Lu Yun's thoughts. Looking back, Liang Xiaowen supported Zhang Kuang and walked over. Liang Xiaowen's eyes were firm and his spirits were high. After a fierce battle, he was not injured. On the contrary, his temperament became more fierce and outstanding. However, Zhang Kuang looked a little miserable. His abdomen, right shoulder and back were all scarred. Even after simple treatment, he could still vaguely see the horror of the wounds, and even felt the demonic energy diffused on them. If it weren't for Liang Xiaowen's support, he would probably have difficulty walking. However, Lu Yun found that there was something wrong with the way Zhang Kuang looked at him. It was very complicated, with shock, admiration, and complaints. Although he was puzzled, Lu Yun didn't pursue it too much, but just asked, "Why is it so embarrassing?" With the strength of Zhang Kuang's 8 times of refining true qi, even if he is not as strong as Liang Xiaowen, he will not be much worse. In addition, with the trump card he got from the Martial Arts Academy, as long as he is a little more cautious, he will not cause this miserable appearance. It's not that I killed too much at that time and was stared at by the 4th level monster. Zhang Kuang put away his strange emotions and sighed. Of course, he would not tell his embarrassing things. He only needed to know about the embarrassing things in his heart. If the others knew about it, he would not be able to raise his head in the future. It's a bit incredible that a mere 4th level monster tortured you into this state. At this time, Lu Wuan appeared from nowhere. After a battle, he still held a folding fan in his hand and was elegant, which was in sharp contrast with the others. Hearing this, Zhang Kuang couldn't help blushing. He was a rough person, and he was a little weak in his heart. He was almost exposed by Lu Wuan's words. Fortunately, his mind turned quickly and he quickly stabilized and said, I don't know what the monster is thinking. It has been staring at me. Wherever I run, it will chase me. In the end, if it weren't for Wang Duwei to rescue me, I'm afraid you wouldn't see me standing here so intact. Hearing Wang Duwei, several people were shocked. Seeing everyone like this, Lu Yun couldn't help but be curious. Is his senior brother very unusual? Lu Yun was completely immersed in the killing, and didn't notice his senior brother. On this last front, Captain Wang is definitely one of the strongest ones except for a few generals. In this battle alone, he killed at least one 4th level monster, and even one of them was at the peak of the 4th level. At this point, Liang Xiaowen's eyes were full of admiration and amazement. Lu Wuan opened his folding fan and waved it twice. The breeze blew up a few strands of hair on his forehead. He said with a little curiosity, I heard that Captain Wang is also a disciple of the Martial Arts Academy, but I don't know which martial arts academy he is from to have such a strong fighting power. As soon as the voice fell, everyone saw Captain Wang and Xiao Chen walking towards this side together. Haha, excuse me, everyone. I am not talented. I was originally an ordinary disciple of Filing Martial Academy. Captain Wang has a very active personality and treats everyone in the same way. He clasped his fist and smiled. This time, we were able to repel the first wave of beasts. You all have made great contributions. On behalf of all the soldiers and civilians in Dongyuan Giant City, I thank you all again. Liang Xiaowen and others were moved and immediately clasped their fists in return. Captain Wang, you are polite. We have no choice but to kill the monsters. Captain Wang nodded. Everyone, please rest for a while. The next wave of beasts will come soon. Immediately, he waved his hand, and a team of soldiers behind him carried out a large box. The box was opened, and a dazzling light emanated, which was very beautiful. Everyone, 2 spirit crystals per person, just as the reward for killing the monster this time. Captain Wang gave an order, and the soldiers began to distribute spirit crystals to the warriors, 2 per person. Liang Xiaowen and others would not refuse this and took it without hesitation. After such a fierce battle, everyone's true chi was consumed to some extent, and this was only the first wave of beast tide. The battle was not over yet. If they did not recover to their peak state, the next wave of beast tide would be dangerous. Lu Yun's chi was not consumed much, and his chi recovery speed was very terrifying after practicing the Pure Yang Martial Classic, so he did not need much spiritual crystals. However, 2 spiritual crystals were equivalent to 2 months of training resources given to him by the Martial Academy, so he could not refuse. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen walked side by side on the streets of Dongyuan City. At this time, the streets were full of wounded people, and the people in the city were all moving around, a busy scene. When the beast tide came, they were powerless. When the beast tide receded, they contributed their own strength to help take care of the wounded. Doctors and doctors who knew a little about the art of Qigong were responsible for decoction, women, old and young were responsible for bandaging and cleaning the wounds of the wounded, and young and strong men were responsible for helping to clean the battlefield. The 2 of them walked like this, silently talking to each other, silently looking at the appearance of all living beings in Dongyuan City, each with their own feelings in their hearts. A little girl of 5 or 6 years old, wearing coarse linen clothes, came tremblingly in front of the 2 of them, carrying a bowl of water. Brothers, Grandpa said that you are the guardians of Dongyuan City. After fighting for a day and a night, you must be very thirsty. Ask Alian to bring you water. Seeing this scene, Xiao Chen was silent for a while. He looked around and saw the eyes of the people around him looking at them, full of admiration and hope. Protector. Xiao Chen couldn't help but tremble, and an imperceptible light flashed in his eyes. He hid it well and recovered quickly. He, who had always been cold and silent, suddenly had a smile on his face. He lowered his head slightly, rubbed the red face of the little girl in front of him, and said softly, "We are not tired, nor are we thirsty, but we need a lot later. The hero of this bowl of water." "Okay, big brother," the little girl responded cheerfully, holding the bowl of water and carefully walking towards a wounded person. Walking around the corner of the street, Lu Yun smiled and said, "The Xiao Chen just now is a little different from what I have seen before." Xiao Chen's steps suddenly slowed down, his eyes twinkling in his starry eyes. "Maybe the Xiao Chen just now is the real Xiao Chen." After saying that, Xiao Chen quickened his pace. "It's so baffling," Lu Yun complained, quickly quickened his pace and followed. Back in the military camp tent, Xiao Chen didn't say a word to Lu Yun, he just took out the spiritual crystal and started practicing. It would take an average Junshi realm warrior at least 10.5 days to refine a piece of spiritual crystal. Lu Yun noticed that Xiao Chen was refining spiritual crystals very quickly. The surging spiritual energy was frantically transferred from the spiritual crystal towards Xiao Chen's body. At this speed, a piece of spiritual crystal might not be enough for him to practice for a few days. This speed is almost 3 or 4 times that of others. How come this guy's talent is nothing like a 5-star top talent? With such questions, Lu Yun also found a place to sit down cross-legged. Everyone has their own secrets. Although he is curious in his heart, Lu Yun does not want to continue to delve deeper. When it comes to secrets, no one can compare to himself. After practicing for half an hour, Lu Yun's body shook, and a powerful aura came out, as if he had returned to his peak state. Without borrowing spiritual crystals, the consumed Gang Qi can be restored within half an hour, which shows the terror of Chunyang martial arts. He did not end his practice, but his mind entered the sea of consciousness space. In this gray space, the light emitted by the blood-colored lotus platform is particularly conspicuous. His eyes fell on the bloody lotus platform. On the lotus platform, the first petal that bloomed swayed, absorbing the gray mist in the space, and exhaled blood-red gas, wrapping around and filling the blood-red lotus platform. Nothing has changed. Lu Yun felt a little disappointed when he found that there was still only one blooming petal. On the panel, the progress of the killing concept increased to 15% of the first level. He thought that even if the second petal did not bloom, there should be some movement. But looking at it now, the result was different from what he thought. It doesn't matter, the second level has a long way to go and we can get there step by step. In the endless mountains thousands of miles east of Dongyuan Giant City. Here, there is a huge gathering of monster beasts, and at the front of the monster army is a group of 5th-level monster beasts. The flaming lion, the blue-scaled giant eagle, the powerful demon ape, the one-horned wild boar, the golden rat, etc., each of them is filled with terrifying evil spirits. In front of them was a demonic beast with the head of a bull and the body of a bull, a black-eyed demonic bull, about 5 or 6 feet tall. Although its body is not as tall as the 5th-level monsters such as the blazing lion, its terrifying monster aura is like a dark cloud, frightening all the monsters to crawl on the ground. At this time, from the depths of the mountains, a huge and burly black shadow gradually approached. When it completely walked in, its true form was revealed in the eyes of all the monsters. A burly and towering demon ape that looks stronger than the black-eyed demon bull, showing its complete demonic body. This demonic ape has not transformed into a human body, but has a complete monster body. A pair of green eyes are shining with green light, and the whole body is shrouded in black demonic energy. On its thick and powerful shoulders, there is a stick as black as ink, and the mountain-like body moves in every direction. As soon as he took a step forward, the ground rumbled. The green-eyed demon ape arrived, and all the monsters, except the black-eyed demon cow, all worshipped him. The stick was inserted heavily into the ground, causing the mountains to shake immediately. The beasts were unable to stand still, and they were frightened and roared wildly. "Old Niu, this test will bear fruit," the green-eyed demon ape said in an earnest voice. "Zhuang Zijin, who is guarding the city, is stronger. If I weren't a tough guy and thick-skinned, I might not be a match for him." A bright light flashed in the eyes of the black-eyed demon ox, and he continued, "However, I can be sure that there is no second strong man in the golden body state in Dongyuan Giant City. If we join forces, we will definitely be able to kill Zhuang Zijin and take advantage of the situation. Break through the giant city of Dongyuan. Hearing this, the blue-eyed demon ape's eyes lit up. The demon king of the Nine Mountains has ordered that if it is confirmed that there is no support from Dongyuan giant city, then I must kill Zhuang Zijin this time, break through Dongyuan city, and then go to the nearest Qingyang giant city. By then, there will be no support outside Qingyang giant city. Launch an attack and cooperate with us inside and outside. That's very good. The black-eyed demon bull looked back at the demons behind him and ordered. Lian, Fenghu, Dayuan, Bazu, Jinshu, Yinlang, Huahu, the 7 of you led 10,000 demon troops each and be responsible for entanglement of the human army outside the city. Yes, the 7 5th-level demon beasts responded respectfully. Qinglin, Sarutobi, Kanglang, Tiquang, the 4 of you led 10,000 troops each and be responsible for flattening the giant city of Dongyuan for me. Yes, the 4 5th-level demon beasts accepted the order respectfully. After a round of selecting troops and generals, the black-eyed demon bull seemed to be in high spirits and said to the green-eyed demon ape beside him, "Old ape, how is it?" The green-eyed demon ape seemed very calm and analyzed in a deep voice. The demon beast army is important, but the most important thing is you and me. If we can't kill Zhuang Zijin, I'm afraid we will fail in the end. With you, old ape, here, Zhuang Zijin will definitely die. The black-eyed demon bull stomped his hooves, and the terrifying demonic energy soared into the sky. The surrounding area shook and the demons roared. All demons, set off and trample the Dongyuan giant city. The black-eyed demon bull gave an order. The fiery mad lion, the wind-howling demon wolf, the powerful demon ape, the one-horned tyrant pig, the flowing golden rat, the silver-winged demon wolf, and the purple fire tyrant tiger, 7 5th-level demon beasts, took the lead in leading the demons to rush out of the endless mountains. Among them, the largest one is undoubtedly the powerful demon ape, which is nearly 10 feet tall, and is not much different even compared to the 6th-level green-eyed demon ape. The fastest one was undoubtedly the silver-winged demon wolf. When it ran, it seemed as if a pair of silver wings were flapping, and it roared out of the dense forest in the blink of an eye. The other 5 5th-level demon beasts also had their own specialties. They led 10,000 demon soldiers to attack Dongyuan giant city again. Cry! The green-scaled giant eagle roared and shouted, "All demons, follow me to charge, kill human warriors, flatten Dongyuan giant city, and kill all human beings." Immediately, it flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Countless birds followed behind it, and the sky was immediately crowded. In a blink of an eye, nearly 100,000 demon beasts roared out of the mountains. After countless beast tides, Dongyuan giant city still sits at the junction of the endless wasteland and the human area like a peerless beast. At dusk, the golden sunset dyed the sky red, and a few sunsets shone through the clouds, covering Dongyuan giant city with a layer of golden gauze. Outside the city, the wounded soldiers had been cleared out, and countless new faces were added to the army. The strong man in the golden body realm, wearing golden armor, sat cross-legged in front of the army like a magic needle that stabilizes the sea. A golden spear, under the illumination of the setting sun, emitted 1,000 footlight, which made the army behind him feel very relieved. Zhuang Zijin, this is the general who guards one side. He has been in charge of the huge city of Dongyuan for decades and has never allowed a single monster to enter the human area from Dongyuan city. At this moment, as if sensing something, the golden snake spear beside him shook and made a light sound. Whoosh! Zhuang Zijin's tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, his eyes moved slightly, and he looked into the depths of the endless wasteland. Is it finally here? He stood up, his pupils sank slightly, his battle robe moved without wind, and the golden spear rotated in the air and fell steadily into his hand. Beat the drums, and fight. With this order, Zhuang Zijin, holding a spear and wearing a battle robe, soared into the sky. Boom! Boom! The war drums suddenly beat, and at first there was only sporadic agitation. But soon more and more war drums sounded, like continuous thunder, resounding throughout the world and shaking the giant city. The second wave of beasts is coming. Wang Yuhao looked solemn when he heard such intensive war drums. The waves of beasts became stronger and stronger. Their test had come. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen in the tent opened their eyes almost at the same time. The battle is here again. Always ready, let's go. Lu Yun chuckled, picked up the white-scaled purple gold knife and went out. Clang, 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 clang. On the street, soldiers beat gongs and drums, directing the residents and people in the city to enter the rooms in an orderly manner and seal the doors and windows. The monster is here again, let's go. Quick. The young and strong men hurriedly moved the wounded into the house. You guys stay in the house, lock the door, and don't come out. A strong warrior said to his wife and son. Master, you must be careful and come back intact. The wife warned worriedly. Don't worry, my life is very strong. No one can take it away from me. The strong warrior smiled, closed the door, picked up his spear, and left without looking back. Such a scene happened in every corner of the street at the same time. At the same time, groups of soldiers walked out of the military camp. These soldiers were stronger, and had more resolute expressions. At first glance, they were warriors capable of hundreds of battles. On the tall and heavy city wall, Lu Yun, Liang Xiaowen and others gathered again. Even Zhang Kuang, who was still injured, appeared on the city wall. He looked ready. It's only been half a day, and these sons of fools have come back to fight again, and they won't let anyone stop. Zhang Kuang yelled, foaming at the mouth. How are you recovering? The second wave of beasts is far more violent than the first wave. You must not die under the claws of the beasts. Then I will lose a friend with whom I can exchange martial arts. Quote. Lu Wuan, who was holding a folding fan and had a unique temperament, flashed his eyes, and his eyes fell on Zhang Kuang. Don't worry, I can't do anything else except that I'm in great shape. I've already recovered from my minor injuries. After speaking, Zhang Kuang patted his chest vigorously to prove that what he said was true. Lu Yun's eyes moved slightly, and he looked at Zhang Kuang. He was indeed in good condition, and he was quite surprised. Zhang Kuang's recovery ability is indeed a bit abnormal, and it can almost catch up with him. He seems to be a guy with a good physique. Lu Yun quickly took his eyes away from Zhang Kuang and looked to a distant place. The sky and the ground were filled with darkness. The army of monster beasts emitted soaring demonic aura, covering the heaven and earth, sweeping in like a torrent, casting a dark cloud over the still dusk sky. At the same time, it also cast a dark cloud in everyone's heart. A distance of hundreds of miles is very far for ordinary people, but for monsters who are good at running, it is nothing more than that. Whoosh whoosh. The blazing crazy lion, wind-roaring demonic wolf, and the powerful demonic ape led an army of 70,000 demonic beasts to attack first, followed closely by the blue-scale giant eagle and others, leading an army of 40,000 demonic beasts. The army of 110,000 demonic beasts is majestic and high-spirited, and the overwhelming demonic aura is very terrifying. Just judging from the momentum, it is far more powerful than the first wave. The first wave of demon beasts, although there are many in number, are mostly low-level demon beasts. Most of them have been eliminated, and most of the remaining demon beasts are the elites among the demon soldiers. Of course, this is not the only reason why this wave of monsters is more powerful and terrifying. Two behemoths rushed at the front of the monster army. The black-eyed demon cow now showed its true form. Its body, which was more than 10 feet long, was covered with black scales. Its pupils were dark and bright, like two black holes. Its four thick hooves were like iron pillars. Every time it ran forward, a wave of waves formed on the ground. There was a rumbling sound, and the severed horns on the head grew back, emitting a breathtaking light. The entire huge body of the green-eyed demon ape was shrouded in a layer of black mist, making it impossible to see its true appearance. It seemed like a hill surrounded and filled with soaring demonic aura that was constantly moving forward. Every time it moved forward, the sound of the earth shaking became even louder. Act according to the previous plan and kill. The black-eyed demon bull roared loudly, and the demonic beasts behind him rushed out, letting out a roar that shook the earth. Tear human bones with your hands, drink human blood, kill. The 5th-level monsters were the generals, and the 4th-level monsters were the leaders. They turned into a neatly formed team and charged forward. Ouch! Ouch! The sound of exciting beast roars resounded, and the terrifying demonic energy soared into the sky, instantly pulling the entire world into darkness. No demons are allowed to enter the territory of Daewon. A golden spear pierced through the heaven and earth, emitting thousands of rays of light. The dazzling light shone in the eyes of all the monsters, and they could not open their eyes. Immediately, the golden spear turned into a golden sun and descended from the sky, bringing countless golden raindrops with it. The sound was so terrifying that it shocked the group of monsters. Let the old ape come and have a chat. At the same time as the green-eyed demon ape made a sound, it rushed out quickly, making a loud bang-dong-dong sound with every step it took. Roar! He looked up to the sky and roared, and the terrifying demonic aura on his body rose into the sky. A giant stick as black as ink was swung out, driving a terrifying demonic wind, and all the demonic beasts that were very close to it were blown away. Go out! Boom! The golden spear falling from the sky and the sky-high black stick collided, immediately stirring up a powerful storm that swept across an area hundreds of feet in radius and spread in all directions at a rapid speed. Ha ha ha! So happy, so happy! In the center of the storm, the blue-eyed demon ape's eyes emitted an astonishing light, like the stars of a bullfight. In the sky, Zhuang Zijin, who was wearing a blue armor, opened his hand to take a picture, and the golden spear that was knocked away returned to his hand with a hiss, like a god coming. It seems that you are well prepared this time. His eyes faintly glanced at the blue-eyed demon ape and the black-eyed demon cow, and an indifferent voice without any emotion came from his mouth. 10 years ago, you were lucky enough to survive. Today, you have no reason to survive. The eyes of the black-eyed demon bull looked at Zhuang Zijin, filled with intense fear and hatred. It fought dozens of times with Zhuangzi and Jin, and at the beginning it had the upper hand. Later, Zhuang Zijin became stronger and stronger as the battle progressed, and gradually became a draw, and now has a steady advantage. Even if it doesn't rely on its strong body and defense now, it doesn't have the confidence to survive the opponent's gun. Such a terrifying human being cannot help but feel fear and hatred. Just you two guys with hair and horns. The tone was still indifferent, but the pitch was raised a bit, making the surrounding world resound. Ha ha, a bunch of people with hair and horns. All the soldiers in Daewon's army laughed wildly. Human beings are indeed very articulate people. The black-eyed demon cow snorted coldly and gave orders to the demonic beast behind him. Killing will definitely break through the huge city of Dongyuan and kill all the humans in the city. With an order, an army of hundreds of thousands of monsters surged out like a tidal wave. Zhuang Zijin ignored the monster beasts rushing away from his feet, but focused on those monster beasts that came from the air. His spear swept across and filled the sky with golden light. Roar! The black-eyed demon bull roared angrily, and its hooves dug several huge holes in the ground. Its huge body rose into the sky and rushed towards Zhuang Zijin. A pair of horns wrapped in demonic energy shone with a terrifying light. Zhuang Zijin's spear did not stop and continued to thrust forward. A large number of birds were killed, countless huge corpses fell from the sky, and the blood splattered stained the sky red. Noisy. At the moment when the pair of extremely sharp horns struck, he clenched his left hand into a fist, violent real energy surged, and immediately punched the huge bull head. In the golden body realm, remove the clay body and create a powerful and terrifying body, making the golden body invincible. Therefore, once a human reaches the golden body realm, the mere physical body will not be inferior to that of monsters and beasts. The fist seemed to turn into a hammer of true energy, hitting the bull's head with all its might, and actually knocked the black-eyed demon bull away. Similarly, Zhuang Zijin also flew upside down in the air, and the violent counterattack made his left arm numb. The full-force collision of the sixth-order monster is not that simple. Zhuang Zijin, you and I should perish today, and my army of monsters will surely break through the giant city of Dongyuan. The green-eyed demon ape seized the opportunity, wielded a black stick like Optimus Prime, and bombarded him from the other side. Wherever the giant stick passed, strong winds roared, evil winds raged, and the air shook. Zhuang Zijin seemed to have expected it. His eyes darkened, he exerted force with both arms, turned the spear, and stabbed out. The peerless spear suddenly bloomed, and thunder exploded in the sky. At the same time, the black-eyed demon bulls attacked from a flank, intending to kill Zhuang Zijin. No matter how strong Zhuang Zijin was, he still couldn't resist facing two powerful sixth-level monsters at the same time. Seeing this scene, the monster army became more powerful and charged forward fiercely. Dong dong dong. The war drums beat in unison, and the army rushed out to fight with the army of monsters. The army of 70,000 demonic beasts was divided into numerous formations and launched attacks at the same time, containing all the main forces of the army. The blue-scaled giant eagle led a group of birds to fly towards the city, while Qingfeng Kanglan, iron-armed crazy bear and others led an army of tens of thousands of monsters to attack from the flanks. Fire the arrow! The god-breaking crossbows that had been prepared on the city wall were all released, and thousands of thick crossbow arrows shot through the air. Phew! The blue-scaled giant eagle's wings shook, blocking all the flying crossbow arrows, and the sound of rattling echoed in the void. However, other lower-level birds did not have as strong a body and defense as the blue-scaled eagle, and they were all shot through their bodies and fell from high altitudes. Everyone, follow me to kill the enemy. Boom! The two generals burst out with terrifying auras, stepped out of the air, killed birds one after another, and entangled the giant blue-scaled eagle that was about to enter the city. Several other partial generals led many captains, school captains and temporarily gathered warriors to jump out from the city wall and kill the monsters rushing to the city. The army that had been prepared for a long time also came out of the city. Ouch! Seeing the incoming human army, many monster beasts shouted, their scarlet eyes full of madness and greed. Facing human warriors in the Golden Body realm, monster beasts do not have much advantage, and are even slightly inadequate. But under the Golden Body, except for a few geniuses with incredible combat power, the monster's powerful body is simply invincible. Therefore, it is almost always one or two people dealing with a monster together. Kill! A tall man waving a tiger head and a gray-haired old man from the Truchi realm jointly dealt with a late third-level wolf demon. The two men seemed to cooperate well and soon took advantage, leaving scars on the wolf monster. However, the number of monsters was not less than that of human warriors and the army, but on the contrary, they had an advantage in number. If they had not been shot and killed by the god-breaking crossbow, it would not take long for a group of monsters to take advantage of the situation and attack the city wall. Roar! Two silver moon monster wolves pounced on him, and the strong man who could not dodge was immediately thrown out. His clothes were directly cut by sharp claws, and a terrible scar appeared on his abdomen. Seeing this scene, the gray-haired old man was also horrified. He no longer cared about the previously injured wolf monster and withdrew to defend. But he was still a step too late, and was immediately bitten on the shoulder by a gray wolf rushing up from behind. Crack! The right shoulder was torn off from the body. Faced with such severe pain, the old man just choked and staggered back quickly, back to back with the strong man, relying on each other, watching the three monster wolves surrounding him. Am I going to die here today? Looking at the demon wolf with fierce eyes and approaching step by step, the strong man felt that there was no hope for life. In the midst of life and death, he recalled the promise he made to his wife, sons and daughters when they parted, and felt sour and guilty. The human body is always extremely weak in front of the demon beasts. I can't come back to reunite with you. May you live in peace and worry-free. According to the Great Yuan Law, once a family member dies on the battlefield fighting with demon beasts, not only will his family be rewarded, but his children will also receive support from the court officials. Knowing that he will die, his wife, sons and daughters at home can get support, so he has no worries in his heart, and his eyes become firm again. Kill! The old man and the big man were crazy at the same time, and they were ready to fight to the death before they died. At the same time, the three wolf demons pounced directly, trying to tear the two humans into pieces. Swish! At this moment, a sword light flashed, and the sword light was like thunder, drawing an arc and passing through the necks of the two monsters. At the same time, a terrifying sword light descended from another direction, and the body of the remaining wolf monster was directly split in half. Ha ha ha, you actually got there first. Looking at the corpses that fell to the ground in unison, Lu Yun complained. Although I don't have as much true energy as you, if we compete in the efficiency of killing monsters, I will not be much inferior to you. After the words fell, Xiao Chen's figure flashed, leaving a residual image on the spot. Immediately afterwards, the sword light flashed, and another monster fell. It's not certain that they are more efficient than me. Lu Yun chuckled, and the fierce wind lightning step was activated. The whole person turned into a thunderbolt and rushed into the army of monsters. The terrifying murderous aura filled the surroundings, and the extremely condensed pure yang gangqi surged, all poured into the white-scaled purple-gold sword. The shocking sword light whistled out and swept in all directions. Groups of monsters had no time to resist and fell down one after another with incomplete bodies. Looking at the three wolf monsters that were killed in an instant, and seeing the monsters that fell in groups in the distance, the strong man and the old man with broken arms were stunned and looked at the backs of Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, their eyes full of shock. These two young men are so powerful, but why haven't I seen them before? The strong man couldn't help but wonder. If I'm not mistaken, these two are disciples of Filing Martial Academy. They originally came to Dongyuan to recruit disciples, but they didn't expect to encounter this monster tide. After experiencing the joy of surviving the catastrophe, the old man's eyes burst into wisdom again. Filing Martial Academy, recruiting disciples. The strong man muttered to himself, and an idea quietly sprouted in his mind. Very good, the killing state has been raised to 20% of the first level. After killing another third-level late-stage monster, Lu Yun suddenly realized that the murderous aura around him was stronger. He separated a wisp of his mind to check the panel, and saw that the progress of cultivation had been raised to 20% of the first-level killing state. Ow-woo roar! Suddenly, a huge wild boar with fangs approached Lu Yun. The moment Lu Yun saw this wild boar, he was a little distracted. This monster was exactly the same as the one-horned wild boar he killed in the Wanxiang Tower. The only difference was that the one-horned wild boar in front of him was more real, and the demonic aura was more terrifying. The rich demonic aura it exuded was almost substantial. This was a fourth-level one-horned wild boar. From a distance, Lu Yun felt a sense of pressure. He can easily kill the early and middle stage of the third-order monsters, and even the late stage of the third-order monsters. With some tricks and some trump cards, he can also kill the peak of the third-order monsters. But facing the fourth-order monsters, he is not very sure. So in order to avoid being noticed by the fourth and fifth-order monsters, he kept moving the battlefield. Unexpectedly, he was still targeted in the end. Haha, it seems that I killed too much. Since it is unavoidable, then face it calmly. After thinking about this clearly, Lu Yun finally has no scruples. At this point, he can't help but have scruples. Even the early stage of the fourth-order monster is far from being comparable to the peak of the third-order monster. Lu Yun must use 99% of his strength to deal with it. As for running away, sorry, I never thought about it. Breaking Yuan's on. A sword seemed to fly from the sky, as fast as lightning and as sharp as thunder. If it was an ordinary third-level monster, it would die on the spot, but when it was slashed on this fourth-level unicorn wild boar, it only barely broke a layer of skin and flesh, and did not cause much damage. What a terrifying defense! Xiao Chen's cold eyes flashed with shock. Immediately, he said to Lu Yun, "Let's kill this guy together." Yes, Xiao Chen said to kill, not to fight. After saying that, without waiting for Lu Yun to react, he rushed forward with the rainbow sword in his hand. The power of the thunder sword is very terrifying. It not only greatly increases the power of the sword technique, but also causes continuous damage. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen left scars on the body of the unicorn wild boar with terrible defense. But this also completely angered the unicorn wild boar. It stimulated the demonic energy that soared into the sky. With a flick of its horn, it blocked Xiao Chen's attack. At the same time, with a sudden collision, Xiao Chen's figure flew backwards. It is worthy of being a fourth-level monster. Seeing the fight between it and Xiao Chen, Lu Yun roughly understood the strength of this unicorn wild boar. This unicorn wild boar is stronger than the average fourth-level early-stage monster, but it can be determined that it has not reached the fourth-level middle stage. Otherwise, Xiao Chen would not have simply been sent flying backwards after the collision just now. Watch me. Lu Yun's killing intent was completely released, and at the same time, the pure yang qi in his dantian surged wildly, and his body was surrounded by white gold light and blood-red gas, which made him look strange and powerful. With force running through his body, the white-scaled purple-gold sword gushed out, slashing out, and all the power exploded on the horn. However, the sword force did not penetrate completely, as if it encountered great resistance. With a loud bang, the unicorn wild boar was blasted away several feet away, and a crack appeared on the unicorn horn that was shining with a faint light. I made a mistake. I didn't expect this guy to react so quickly and use his horn to block my knife at the critical moment. Lu Yun couldn't help but marvel at the reaction speed of this unicorn wild boar. Roar! The unicorn wild boar roared, and the powerful demonic energy condensed, and its power became more and more terrifying. The reason why the 4th level monster beasts are much stronger than the 3rd level monster beasts is that they can already use and mobilize the demonic energy, and use the demonic energy to enhance attack and defense. The one-horned wild boar in front of him has obviously reached this level. It's my turn. At the moment when Lu Yun and the one-horned wild boar flew backwards at the same time, Xiao Chen aimed at the opportunity and launched an attack. Sword 3. Holding a 3-foot green sword, he will not stop until he kills the demons. This sword is like a meteor passing by, a fleeting moment, so fast that it is indescribable, and the powerful sword energy is overwhelming like a vast ocean. This sword is unparalleled, as if thunder is blooming, light is flashing, violent, sharp, destructive, and sharp, all bursting out. Looking at this sword, the 4th level one-horned wild boar felt a sense of horror for no reason, as if this sword was enough to pierce its body. The pupils contracted, and the dark red demonic power burst out, fighting against this sword with all its strength. The overwhelming demonic power surged out, shattering the strands of lightning sword energy. After the sword energy, there was a terrifying lightning sword light. The unicorn monster once again gathered the surging demonic power on the unicorn with a gap. Crack! The extremely hard unicorn broke, and the remaining power of the lightning sword light continued, pouring all over the body of the unicorn monster. Boom! Even with an extremely terrifying defense, the huge body still couldn't resist this sword, and was directly blown away, with a terrifying and sharp wound on the body. Sword 3, the power is good. Lu Yun praised. Then he changed the subject. I also have a sword, please take a look. As soon as he finished speaking, a sword was slashed in the air, and countless sword energy spread all over the world, like a storm. In this storm, sword lights like petals appeared. Xiao Chen stared at the sword light that filled the sky and the earth with his starry eyes. He wanted to speak, but in the end he said nothing. He just tightened the rainbow in his hand. 100 flowers, flowing wind dance. As this majestic voice fell, the extremely terrifying sword light fell from the sky like a meteorite, shattering the vacuum, the earth, and the body of the unicorn monster. Reluctant. This unicorn wild boar was full of reluctance and disbelief. But it was helpless. From beginning to end, it had never had a chance to attack and was completely beaten. They were obviously 2 third-level humans, but they suddenly burst out with such a terrifying attack power, which made its proud defense and invincible horn collapse. The extremely strong body was cut by the vast sword energy, the dark red demonic energy was quickly extinguished, the bones and muscles were torn, and the powerful vitality was extinguished. Rumble. The huge body fell completely, and the terrifying explosion swept in all directions. The surrounding monsters and people were stunned by this scene. This human must not be left. The 5th level Qingfang Kanglang reacted immediately, followed by a roar, and attacked Lu Yun without hesitation. A terrifying blue demon essence was swallowed and spit out from its mouth, forming an extremely terrifying hurricane that swept towards Lu Yun. Looking at the hurricane that covered the sky and earth and contained terrifying power, Lu Yun felt his scalp tingling. He did not dare to resist at all, and immediately used the fierce wind lightning step to the extreme. Swish, swish, swish. The speed of the hurricane was extremely fast, and it arrived almost instantly. Even the fierce wind lightning step that was close to perfection could not allow Lu Yun to completely avoid it. He was submerged by the edge of the hurricane, and the fierce attack covered his whole body, as if countless sharp blades were randomly cutting through his body. Even with Lu Yun's body that was comparable to a real weapon, plus the protection of the body with Gangqi, he was not spared, and his body was at least injured by dozens of scars. I still underestimated the horror of the 5th level monster. Feeling the severe pain from his body, Lu Yun couldn't help but take a deep breath, but he had no time to check his injuries. He used all his strength to shuttle through the battlefield in order to avoid the pursuit of the 5th level Qingfang Kanglang. But his speed was so slow compared to the Qingfang Kanglang that it couldn't be any slower. It didn't take long before he was pulled closer. Don't all the 5th level monsters have their own opponents? Why did they suddenly target me and pester me now? Lu Yun was angry and annoyed, and kept changing his position to delay time and wait for support. Boom! The terrifying attack came, and Lu Yun barely dodged it, but the other monsters were not so lucky. They were torn apart by the powerful attack and died without even a scream. Even the monsters on his side were not spared, which shows that Qingfang Kanglang was determined to kill Lu Yun. Qingfang Kanglang jumped suddenly and blocked Lu Yun's retreat. The powerful demonic energy was diffused, and the terrifying power was radiated. The surrounding monsters and human soldiers were trembling all over and fell to the ground. Lu Yun, who was in the center of the storm, was under the greatest pressure, but he had comprehended the killing state, and his spirit and will were far superior to the third-level monsters and human warriors. Under the terrifying pressure, his speed was only hindered. For Lu Yun now, the speed restriction is undoubtedly the most fatal. Die, human ant. Qingfang Kanglang's huge eyes were full of contempt and murderous intent. He opened his mouth and spit out the terrifying demon essence into a pale blue light ball. The moment it shot out, it stirred up endless winds, and instantly covered the world. How dare you! At the critical moment of life and death, Wang Yuhao happened to discover this scene. After seeing Lu Yun being chased by a fifth-level monster, his face suddenly changed, and then he shouted and attacked without hesitation. A knife slashed out, the crimson blade light gushed out, and the sound of the air roared through the world. Rumble, the knife seemed to cut everything, cutting off the endless wind, and the terrifying demon essence was also blocked by the powerful knife, and the direction was slightly deviated. Because of this slight deviation, Lu Yun also took the opportunity to escape. However, the other monsters that were fighting with the Yuan soldiers were not so lucky. They were covered by the terrifying demon energy, and their huge bodies were quickly torn apart, looking extremely miserable. Junior brother Lu, you stay away for now, I will stop it. Glancing at the Qingfang Kanglang filled with demon energy, Wang Yuhao tightened the knife in his hand, his face extremely solemn. Even though he had killed a peak 4th-level monster, Wang Yuhao was under great pressure at this time when facing a genuine 5th-level monster. Junior brother Wang, be careful. Lu Yun did not hesitate at all and withdrew. Facing a 5th-level monster, he would not be able to provide help if he stayed, but would only hinder him. Knowing this, he would not stay. Hiss. Feeling the severe pain from his body, Lu Yun could not help but frown slightly. There was demon energy on the wound. If it was not treated in time, there would be endless troubles. He was chased by Qingfang Kanglang just now, and he did not dare to spend the slightest mind to observe the wound. Now it looks really terrifying. At the wound, the bones were clearly visible, and the pale blue demonic power was attached to the wound, constantly devouring the vitality, and the blood turned dark red. Not daring to hesitate, Lu Yun immediately drove the pure Yang Gang Qi to expel the remaining demonic power in his body. Pure Yang Gang Qi is extremely strong in Yang, especially after being refined 3 times, this attribute becomes more powerful, fierce and domineering. Not long after, the demonic energy that was like a maggot on the tarsal bone was expelled. Without the obstruction of the demonic power, Lu Yun's body's terrifying recovery ability finally began to work, and a strong vitality filled the air. Lu Yun only felt that his whole body was extremely itchy, as if countless insects were crawling in his flesh and blood. He knew that this was the vitality filling the air, and the wound was recovering. Swish! A flash of sword light flew by, and the bodies of several monsters were cut open. The huge bodies fell to the ground and squirmed, and then quickly lost their breath. Xiao Chen walked over holding the Tianong sword, and saw Lu Yun with wounds all over his body. His eyes became deeper. How is it? Can you continue to fight? It's just a minor injury, no big deal. Lu Yun smiled softly, and a dangerous smile gradually bloomed on his face. He raised his eyes slightly, and his sight fell on Wang Yuhao and Qingfang Kanglang who were fighting fiercely in the distance, and said in a deep voice, I can't deal with the 5th-level monster, but it's easy to kill the 3rd-level monster. Kill. With a low roar, the blood-colored lotus in the sea of consciousness shook wildly, and boundless killing intent was released. The terrifying murderous aura filled the 4 directions. Lu Yun's eyes turned scarlet, and the whole person was covered by a blood-colored light, like an invincible killing god, bursting with boundless power. The blood-red blade light shattered the void, stretching to more than 10 feet, like a sky sword descending and slashing down. In a moment, the bodies of more than a dozen monsters were cut in half, and a huge deep pit was cut out of the broken ground, which was more than 10 feet long. The terrifying power of the explosion shook all the surrounding monsters away. In an instant, a thunder figure flashed, like a fleeting light, and the long sword slashed, and one huge corpse after another fell to the ground with a bang. Lu Yun did not stop and continued to shuttle among the monster army. Now, his anger and resentment were all poured on these second and third level monsters. Wherever he killed, the murderous aura spread there. 1, 2, 3. Monsters fell one after another. The soldiers who were fighting desperately with the monsters and were about to fall were completely desperate, but suddenly saw the blood coming, and the air suddenly became cold. Then, with a bang, the monster that was about to tear its body apart fell to the ground with a bang, and trickles of blood flowed out from its neck, abdomen, head and other parts. The god of death is coming. Bu Fan, who was covered in blood, saw the blood shadow passing in front of him and the wind-howling monster dog falling at his feet, and such a term appeared in his mind. The murderous aura was really amazing. In the army, only the strong who had killed tens of thousands of monsters could have such a terrifying murderous aura. But why does that figure look familiar? A young figure quickly appeared in his mind. Could it really be him? Thinking of this, Bu Fan became more and more certain in his heart that this blood shadow and the young man he thought of in his mind were definitely the same person. He glanced at Xiao Chen, who was not far away. The sword technique was sharp and the power was even more powerful. Every sword was accompanied by the fall of a monster, and most of them were second level and third level monsters. Such talent and strength are indeed terrifying. No wonder Filing Martial Academy can trust them to be responsible for the enrollment assessment of Dongyuan County. Whether it is Xiao Chen or Lu Yun, their strength is so strong that it makes him tremble. Is he really okay like that? Xiao Chen always keeps a distance of 50 feet from Lu Yun, killing monsters while paying attention to Lu Yun's situation. After all, he saw with his own eyes that Lu Yun was chased by the 5th level Qingfeng demon wolf, and his body was full of terrible scars. In that situation, if it were someone else, he would have died long ago. But now, Lu Yun has become even more brutal, which really shocked him. At the same time as being shocked, he was also full of worries. When a warrior fights overload, it is easy to leave hidden dangers, not to mention that Lu Yun was seriously injured, and the hidden dangers are even more terrifying. Lu Yun didn't know what Xiao Chen was thinking, and his injuries were not as serious as Xiao Chen imagined. On the contrary, after expelling the demon power, the wound is recovering at a terrifying speed. As he killed more and more monsters, the murderous aura around him became more and more terrifying. Even when he was killing a lot, he always kept a wisp of his mind focused on the panel. Killing state of mind increased to 21% of the first level. Killing state of mind increased to 22% of the first level. Killing state of mind increased to 25% of the first level. He found that the stronger the monster he killed, the faster the killing state of mind increased. So, next, he would specifically look for monsters above the peak of the second level to kill. With the fierce wind lightning step, his speed was almost comparable to that of the 4th level monster. As long as he targeted a target, there would be only one result, which was to become the nourishment for his killing state of mind to advance. This time, it should be possible to increase the progress of the killing state of mind to 30% of the first level. Feeling the rapid progress of the killing state of mind, Lu Yun was secretly happy, and even the depression of being chased by Qingfeng Kanglang before was eliminated a lot. In a flash, something strange happened, and he suddenly felt a strong burst of thunder. It was already dawn, and the sky was normal. How could there be a sudden thunder force? That was on the battlefield in the distance. Haha, Zhuang Zijin, prepare to die. The two huge monsters with demonic energy, the black-eyed demon bull and the green-eyed demon ape, besieged Zhuang Zijin together. The demonic energy filled half of the sky, and the sun and moon were dim, only a golden spear light was still looming. From this momentum, Zhuang Zijin seemed to be gradually defeated and could only barely parry. However, Zhuang Zijin could still fight against two powerful 6th level monsters at the same time for a whole night, which was enough to prove his strength. A stick to the sky. The jade-eyed demon ape swept down with a stick, sweeping down the sky. The golden spear was blocked with a bang and was knocked out. The golden light became dim. Zhuang Zijin in the green armor flew out backwards, leaving a trace of green light in the dawn sky. The black-eyed demon bull stepped on the mountains and rivers with its 4 hooves. Its huge body suddenly jumped up, tearing through the sky, and rushed from the side in an instant. The pair of bull horns filled with demonic energy flashed with dim light and rushed towards Zhuang Zijin, who was flying backwards. Seeing that the crisis was about to come, Zhuang Zijin's face never changed color. His mouth moved slightly and said lightly, "If you don't take action now, when will you take action?" His voice was very soft, so soft that no one could hear it. But at the moment when he finished speaking, a golden thunder as thick as a finger suddenly broke out, showing unparalleled speed, and instantly broke through the air and shot to kill. The sudden change made the black-eyed demon bull change color and shudder. Subconsciously, he wanted to dodge. However, the golden thunder instantly enlarged and spread across the sky in a blink of an eye, turning into thunders that shot towards him. Each thunder had extremely terrifying power, shattering the sky with overwhelming force and hitting the huge body of the black-eyed demon bull. Ah! The violent thunder power shattered the demonic energy and spread across the huge body. The thunder power burst out, hitting the black-eyed demon bull and making it scream violently. Zhuang Zijin, who had retreated drastically, now had a gloomy look, turned his spear over, infused his true essence, and pushed it forward with both hands. The spear turned into a golden dragon and shot towards the black-eyed demon bull. The black-eyed demon bull, who was entangled by thunder, was so frightened by the golden spear that it was shooting towards him that he shouted, "Save me!" The voice resounded through the sky, shaking the world. The jade-eyed demon ape was stunned for a moment by the sudden appearance of the unknown strong man, and after reacting, his expression was also shocked. If the black-eyed demon bull was allowed to be killed by the other party, not only would the plan to attack the Dongyuan giant city fail, but the subsequent plans would also be greatly affected. Roar! With a roar, the jade-eyed demon ape's eyes were fierce, and the demonic energy permeated his body was surging and agitated, turning into a black lightning, cutting through the sky and swooping down. You can't save him. In the sky, another golden thunder burst out, turning into dense and fine thunder, weaving into a golden thunder giant net, sealing a piece of void, and spreading down. The jade-eyed demon ape felt numb all over his body. His proud defense and body were not very useful under this thunder giant net. Fortunately, it was just stinging and numbness, and did not cause real damage to the body. In its emerald green pupils, a golden figure flew from a distance, wrapped in thunder, crossing the sky and attacking it. Lu Yun narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the center of the golden thunder. Through the golden thunder, he vaguely saw the face of the man in it, and couldn't help showing a hint of surprise. Wasn't that Elder Lei Kanghe who drove the Xuanzhou with them to the Dongyuan giant city? Although they were far away, Lu Yun was 100% sure that it was Elder Lei Kanghe. As for why the other party suddenly appeared and fought with the jade-eyed demon ape, it was obvious. I'm afraid it's not as simple as a coincidence, but it was premeditated. However, Elder Lei Kanghe was so powerful that it was beyond Lu Yun's expectation. Just from the golden thunder in the sky and the breathtaking pressure from afar, one can guess how terrifying it is. Roar! The green-eyed giant ape roared, and its already huge body grew larger again, trying to completely crush the giant thunder net that covered it. With a bang, the giant thunder net exploded, and a pitch-black giant stick hit the sky. The air was shattered, the sky was windy, and the whole world was darkened by the extremely surging demonic energy. It's just a futile resistance. Lei Kanghe's voice in the golden thunder was cold and full of strong confidence. Don't even think about stopping me. The green-eyed demon ape tore the sky with a stick, broke the blockade of the golden thunder, and went to support the black-eyed demon bull. But the golden thunder seemed endless, covering layer by layer, and was extremely powerful. It was impossible to tear it completely. The black-eyed demon ape was so anxious that he roared wildly, waving the black stick like Optimus Prime, stirring up waves of terrifying winds. Demon bull, today is your death. At this time, Zhuang Zijin was even 3 times stronger than at the beginning. The battle robe on the blue armor rustled, and the golden light of the long spear gushed out, like a golden sun, falling towards the huge body of the demon bull. For a moment, the golden light was blazing, illuminating the world. In the sky, angry roars rang out, tragic and heroic. Then, with a click, the bull's horns broke, the demon body split open, and blood rained down, which was very shocking. The body of the 6th-level demon beast was extremely powerful, with abnormal defense and terrifying vitality. One shot could only severely injure it, but could not completely kill it. However, for Zhuang Zijin, severely injuring it meant that killing the opponent was not far away. The battle was extremely tragic. The black-eyed demon bull went crazy, the demonic aura was filled with the sky, the golden light was brilliant, and the endless collision aftermath spread in all directions. The battle was completely in a white-hot state. Boom! Zhuang Zijin was like a golden god of war, unstoppable. With one spear, he cut off the last horn of the black-eyed demon bull and left a hole in its head. The golden spear light completely suppressed the terrifying demonic energy. The black-eyed demon bull kept roaring, the sound shook the sky, and blood flowed like a pillar, scattering in all directions. Zhuang Zijin, who became more and more fierce in the battle, integrated his spear with himself, and had a kind of self-centered spirit. With every move, the wind and clouds rolled, and the spear light was mighty. Die! The murderous intent was revealed in his eyes, the true essence burst out, the spear light flashed, and it spread all over the world. The invincible spear tore through the sky, opened the sky, and chopped down horizontally. With a puff, the head of the black-eyed demon bull was cut off, and the blood splashed high, and the surrounding sky was dyed red. Swish! The spear light was like a rainbow, and it swung out again from another direction, piercing through the body of the black-eyed demon bull, and a bloody hole appeared from the back to the chest. The golden spear turned a circle in the air, and the spear light gushed out again, like a huge sun, falling down. With a swoosh, the huge head flew out from the huge body of the black-eyed demon bull and fell heavily to the ground, stirring up countless smoke and blood mist. Looking at the huge head that fell not far from him, Lu Yun's killing intent suddenly stagnated, with surprise and shock on his face. The 6th-level black-eyed demon bull was killed like this. Rumble! The huge body of the black-eyed demon bull fell from the sky, smashing a huge deep pit on the ground. The gushing blood exuded a terrifying demonic aura and a strong and brutal aura, which made people tremble from a distance. The golden spear fell from the sky and pierced directly into the corpse of the black-eyed demon bull. The golden light spread, and a heroic and powerful figure slowly descended, standing on one foot on the golden spear. In the strong wind, Zhuang Zijin, with his battle robe fluttering, put his hands behind his back, and his cold eyes swept across the 8 directions. The powerful aura oppressed the demons, and they all collapsed to the ground. The spear light burst out and scattered in all directions, countless monster bodies exploded, blood was splattered everywhere, dyeing the broken battlefield red. General is mighty! General is mighty! Invincible! Invincible! Endless shouts resounded, and the huge momentum was stirring. At this moment, Zhuang Zijin, who was the focus of everyone's attention, was invincible. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.